March 20th, 2024. I'm Jessica Rosenthal. The focus has been on the felonies the former president is charged with, but now his focus is on finding cash as New York's top prosecutor threatens to go after Trump's assets in a civil case.
The analogy is a judge ordering the taking of your home, but in order to appeal the judgment, you have to sell the home.
I'm Dave Anthony. TikTok users and influencers keep pushing back on Congress's potential TikTok ban over the social media app's links to China.
The same guys that are up there spouting off that it's all about national security also allowed the weather balloons to fly all over the United States without anything. They allow our open borders on the southern border, people to just flood in by the thousands down there with no checks and balances there.
And I'm Janice Dean. I've got the final word on the Fox News Rundown.
After voting in Palm Beach, Florida Tuesday with Melania by his side, former President Trump addressed the more than $450 million civil penalty against him that increases every day, by the way, as his attorneys say they can't post bond on that amount. Manhattan Judge Arthur Engoron leveled that hefty fine after finding the former president overvalued his properties in an effort to get better loans and insurance policies.
Billions of dollars in value, billions of dollars in properties, but they'd like to take the cash away so I can't use it on the campaign. And this is just a corrupt group of people. It's election interference, and we'll see how the courts rule on it.
In order for the former president to appeal the fine, he has to first post bond, basically ensuring that he has the cash on hand should he lose the appeal. His attorneys say 30 surety companies won't post more than $100 million as bond, and they will not accept his real estate as collateral. Fox's Eric Shawn explains.
Trump's attorneys wrote in the court filing this, quote, obtaining such cash through a fire sale of real estate holdings would inevitably result in massive, irrecoverable losses, textbook irreparable injury. Well, if Mr. Trump doesn't meet the deadline on Monday, Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the case, could potentially freeze his bank accounts and then even go after some of his real estate properties, like the iconic Trump Tower, to satisfy the judgment.
Now, Attorney General Letitia James campaigned on prosecuting Trump for something. Here she was at the Cooper Union School in July of 2018.
Yes, we need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. We need to find out whether or not he's engaged in conspiracy.
As the former president looks to appeal this fine, some legal analysts say the incredibly high penalty amount may be a due process violation. But he has until Monday, where James says she may begin trying to take his assets.
What is different here is the astronomical size of the penalty imposed by the New York court.
George Washington University law professor and Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley.
Many of us believe that the almost $500 million in penalty is excessive and unconnected to any objective basis of losses or victims. So it creates a rather perverse incentive for a court that you can just pick almost randomly some massive number and make it very difficult for anyone to review your decision. I mean, the analogy is a judge ordering the taking of your home, but in order to appeal the judgment, you have to sell the home. It gets to the point where you're interfering with the ability of someone to get appellate review. This is a case that is screaming out for appellate review. Many of us cannot imagine how this level of penalty could ever be upheld. What the bond issue does is it front loads the main issue in the case. There's general acceptance that a company or an individual can be fined for this type of allegation. There is evidence that Donald Trump overvalued or undervalued assets. The concern many of us have is that that is a ubiquitous practice in New York real estate. I mean, it is. I've talked to business people in New York who are dumbfounded by this lawsuit because it is very common for companies to overvalue their assets. That's why these estimates came, as with the Trump estimate, with a warning that you shouldn't rely on this and do your own research.
the New York Attorney General has said, if you can't pay this, I'm going after your real estate assets. I mean, there's this image, I think, for many of us that, Trump loses Trump Tower and his real estate empire. Is that possible, even if it is a slow process?
No, I think the dramatic scene of being locked out of the Trump Tower is not likely to unfold. First of all, Trump does not necessarily own all the assets in these real estate ventures. He has leveraged those properties and has partners on properties that also have claims. But also this takes a while. You have to seek authority to essentially confiscate property, and then there could be further challenges to how you do that. The eagerness of James to start that process is a little bit telling. I mean, this is an attorney general who ran on the pledge to bag Trump without ever saying what she would prosecute him for. That's literally campaigning on a pledge of selective prosecution, something that is anathema to the rule of law. But putting aside her eagerness, she will have to go through a process to actually confiscate property. Since these assets are not entirely owned by Donald Trump, there will be other companies and individuals who have a right to access and use of the property. The question for Trump is technical to some extent, but also common sense in another. These companies are not willing to take real estate as the collateral for the bond. So Trump is in a very difficult position because of the nature of his business. And there's a reasonable aspect to that, and objection. If he were 3M, then he could fork over the money, but he's not. He's someone who has spent his entire life with assets in real estate.
Yeah. Professor, and we've been playing them on the channel, on Fox News Channel. Are these montages of Letitia James, the New York AG, saying all of these things about Trump, that she's going to get him legally? Is that something an appeals judge could weigh?
They can on the question of selective prosecution. The problem is that selective prosecution is very difficult to prove. Judges truly despise these motions. I have brought a couple of them. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be pulled into motivations of a prosecutor. Now, very few prosecutors are as raw and open as Letitia James. It's a disgrace to run on a pledge of selective prosecution. And also consider, if you're a bank or bonding company, you have an attorney general who's laying waste to political opponents, who's pursuing people like Trump with unrelenting vigor. Do you really want to get in the crosshairs of an attorney general like that? That's the problem. And so I think New York is eviscerating its standing as a legal system. And I expect that there's going to be a greater exodus from the city due to this case.
Wow. Just so we understand, I feel it's strange to be talking about a bond on a civil penalty. I don't think I've personally ever talked about that. I think we're used to using the words bond on criminal cases, like we use bail. Why does he need to post, quote unquote, post bond here?
Well, the theory is that after a trial, a prevailing party should not have to go through appeal unless there is a guarantee that you are prepared as the losing party to pay up if you should not prevail. And the idea is that the other party has prevailed, has proven the case on the trial level. And so you can appeal, but you need to pony up to show that you're prepared to make good on that commitment. I've always been rather skeptical of these rules. I do believe that they can constitute a barrier to due process. But I have never, even though I've been a critic of that for years, I've never seen the likes of this. I mean, this is breathtaking, that a judge would arbitrarily come up with this massive number, knowing that it would be very hard to allow any judge to look at his ruling unless the accused party sells off assets. And, this was a judge who was asked, I think reasonably, by Trump and his team to waive this bond requirement. He could have done that. So Engoron could have just shown that he was not this hostile jurist. That he could have shown that he had a certain degree of balance and circumspection. He didn't. He refused to make any changes at all in the bond obligation. He also opposed an astronomical interest of 9% annually plus added costs. All of that is rather confiscatory, and I think it does really raise a due process question under the Constitution.
There's been a lot of movement in the Fulton County, Georgia case, with the special prosecutor stepping down over the impropriety or the seemingly impropriety of their relationship with the DA. This hush money case out of Manhattan. Obviously, there's delay in the federal January 6th case. When you look at sort of, I guess, all of what's happening in Trump world on the legal dockets, just your gut reaction to how it all impacts the campaign in light of this new issue of needing to find money.
Well, first of all, there is still a chance that Trump could be in trial before the election. That has certainly dwindled in some of these cases, but there's still a chance one of these torpedoes will hit before the election.
Yeah.
But the optics on that are having a rather curious impact on the election. Most of the public gets it. I mean, you don't have to like Donald Trump to look at these cases and have real reservations about what's happening in our legal system. These are politically motivated cases. The cases in New York are raw and political. Alvin Bragg has brought a case that none of us have seen the like of. He's essentially trying to make a misdemeanor under state law into a felony by charging a crime that the Department of Justice refused to prosecute. He's bootstrapping a federal offense into a state case. It's ridiculous. In the case of Fani Willis, the case that she's brought in Atlanta, she has a racketeering theory that is so thin, it's virtually transparent. The connection between any of these 19 parties is so attenuated that it's going to have great difficulty in being upheld on appeal. But with all this pile-on in all these different states, the public is reacting. Every indictment has produced better polling results for Trump, and there's a reason for that. The American people don't like it. They like their legal system. They believe in blind justice. This is not it. And they know it when they see it. When they see selective prosecution, it's pretty obvious.
Professor Jonathan Turley, thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is News Talk STL on 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Spring is in the air, but so are airborne allergens like tree pollen, grass, mold, and ragweed. If spring allergies keep you trapped inside, then you need Navage Nasal Care to keep you breathing clearly and enjoying all the beauties of spring. Navage helps clear nasal passages that are often clogged because of seasonal allergies. Navage gently flushes a pure, refreshing saline solution through your nasal passages to clear out congestion, sucking out that springtime pollen and other irritants trapped in your nose. Navage springs into action quickly, helping you breathe more clearly in just 30 seconds. And you don't need a never-ending cycle of decongestants that can leave you feeling drowsy. Navage is the fast and easy drug-free allergy solution that helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. Get Navage today so you can get outdoors and enjoy your favorite springtime activities. Navage is available online at Navage.com or in stores at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, Navage. Breathe easy.
Hello, everyone. For all of you who suffer from calcium oxalate stones, here is some free advice. Tip 1, drink plenty of water. It takes a lot of water to dilute and pass the substances that lead to stones. Tip 2, modify your diet. You'll need to limit sodium, cut your meat.
Tired of difficult lifestyle changes that often don't work? If you suffer from calcium oxalate stones, now there's help. Kidney Cop, Calcium Oxalate Protector. Add Kidney Cop to your routine as a way to potentially reduce or even stop the formation of calcium oxalate stones. Kidney Cop is a dietary supplement developed by doctors and pharmacists. It's been proven in laboratory tests to reduce the rate of calcium oxalate crystal growth by 99%. That's right, 99%. Just take Kidney Cop. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. You can purchase affordable Kidney Cop today by visiting Amazon.com, Walmart.com, or KidneyCop.com. Yes, you can start enjoying life again. Purchase Kidney Cop at Amazon.com, Walmart.com, or KidneyCop.com today.
These statements have not been reviewed by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sponsored by Calcium Oxalate.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
This is not a final ruling, but so far the Supreme Court will let Texas enforce a new law allowing police to arrest migrants.
Larry Connors, USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL.
Katie here, and I'd like to talk to you guys about Michael's Flooring Outlet. You could gain peace of mind with Michael's Flooring Outlet for your flooring and carpet installation needs. Their team of experts ensures that the job is done right the first time, providing you with attentive and a personalized service. Just like my parents, you can trust them to replace your old carpet with beautiful hardwood flooring. Visit one of their 3 locations in Dardenne Prairie, St. Peters, or Creve Coeur, or check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Joe Biden's top aide has a long history of bullying and sexual abuse.
It's a shame that we have a president and we have a first lady who spent all of their time campaigning on the idea that Donald Trump is a rapist. Come to find out, the Democrats don't care. Behind the curtain, peel it all back, we see Oz, and it is nothing but a fake farce machine.
Weekdays at 2.
On News Talk STL.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com. Hey, it's Tony Colombo for the Cleaning Pros at Zero Res. It's time for spring cleaning, and there's no one that can help you with that more than the team at Zero Res, especially with this great offer. Book a cleaning in March, mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119. Plus, you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning and 20% off your upholstery, which is a service we've used many times. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
The St. Louis Business Journal is now reporting that liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk.
Soros' maneuver raises critical questions about the future of media ownership and influence.
Money and attention is power. And when he has the money and he controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the minds, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL.
Who is Brian Kohlberger?
Mark Furman hosts 3 exclusive specials you can only find on Fox Nation. Delve into the Idaho College murders, Digital Shadows, Savage Instincts, and Moscow murders. All streaming now, only on Fox Nation.
This is the Fox News Rundown. More up next.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Missouri lawmakers are preparing for the home stretch of this year's legislative session. This is when things get interesting, so we'll talk about it Wednesday with Rodney Boyd at 2:20. Then we'll open closest cabinet at 3:05.
Weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
With Old Man Winter blowing into the heartland, let me tell you, Hanson's Tree Service is here to help. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Look them up 24/7 at hansonstree.com. Do you have any tree problems at your home or your business? Overhanging branches? Have Hanson's and the gang take them down professionally so Old Man Winter doesn't. What about organic mulch? Hanson's Tree has got that in bulk. It'll save you in price and time. Incredibly convenient. Protect all those assets you've got in the ground and have Hanson's take care of everything above the ground for you as well. Get them out to your homestead or your business right now. Hanson'sTree.com. That's Hanson'sTree.com.
Congratulations to everyone at Connor Roofing. We chose the Connor Roofing team for our National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction without telling anyone at Connor Roofing, based on over 30 years of fantastic customer reviews. Rob and Kathy Connor and their team deliver very high-quality roofing, siding, gutters, storm damage restoration at a fair price with integrity. Connor Roofing has had an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau for years. Count on Connor. For an estimate, please visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no-obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Wednesday, so things are now officially out of control in the corporate media. As you may have heard, Donald Trump told a rally that the USA would experience a, quote, bloodbath economically if he is not elected president in November. Predictably, the dishonest press portrayed the bloodbath comment as Trump calling for violence. Even when the deceit was exposed, CNN put up a banner on the screen saying Trump says he wasn't calling for violence. No, CNN. He obviously did not espouse violent behavior, and you pinheads know that, but don't care. On the No Spin News, my television broadcast, I said that the corporate media goes after Biden in the same way sometimes, and I'll report that as well. Presto, Fox News commentators claim the president is, quote, screaming and cursing at his staff because his poll numbers are low. Apparently, an anonymous report says that. So FNC gave it credibility. Not right. There is no source attached to that story. Hidden people are not legitimate. The entire media landscape is a land of Oz these days, full of mental munchkins and flying monkeys. And you can quote me. Back after this. Your liver is the hardest working organ in your entire body. It controls your metabolism, cholesterol, hormones, and brain health. But 100 million Americans have a fatty liver, causing weight gain and fatigue. Liver Health Formula, a drug-free supplement packed with 11 botanicals, proven to recharge and protect your liver. Please go to getliverhelp.com/Bill. Receive a free bottle of nano-powered omega-3s today. That's getliverhelp.com/Bill. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Come on, people. This is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
and newstalkstl.com.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Once again, the illegal immigration problem has hit home here in St. Louis. As we talked about yesterday, there's now an illegal immigrant accused of stabbing two people in St. Charles County. So it's giving us kind of a fresh perspective and a fresh look at why the immigration crisis affects us all throughout the country, not just along the border. Hey, I'm Mike Ferguson. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your morning. A little bit later on today, our friends from Numbers USA are saying, you know what, there's another deal to keep the government from shutting down again. But the longer Republicans agree to kick the can down the road and agree to the status quo, at some point, do they own part of the illegal immigration problem as well? This is going to be an interesting discussion. You know, on yesterday's program, we had our good friend Mike O'Neill from Landmark Legal Foundation on the show with us, and he was following very, very closely the arguments in the case that the state of Missouri brought against the Biden administration regarding censorship of social media platforms and the government's role in that. And while he's not convinced that the Supreme Court is going to rule against the Biden administration, there was a lot of really good information to be had here. Maybe we'll get a ruling that says you can't try to censor conservative voices. Maybe we won't. But Mike had a lot of great stuff for us to keep in mind for the next round of censorship battles. Here's what he had to say. This has to do with the case, just give everybody a 30-second primer on this, that Missouri and Louisiana sued the Biden administration saying, hey, you can't go meet with social media and pressure them into making censorious decisions on your behalf. The headlines I saw this morning says, well, the Supreme Court seems real skeptical of the state's arguments. But what's at stake right here when we talk about this particular case, which we probably won't find out a decision until June or July or something?
Right. It's funny when you said it. I was laughing when you said get a bunch of lawyers involved, and that's absolutely true. When you get a bunch of lawyers involved, you delve into these details and nuances, and what appears to be a simple case quickly gets complicated. So you had during the COVID-19 pandemic, you had individuals posting information that ultimately, now we see in retrospect that a lot of that was true, that we were fed a bunch of lies and a bunch of nonsense from the federal government while people were putting up posts regarding vaccination and social distancing and those sorts of issues, and were censored by their social media platforms. They were taken down. These posts were removed. And they were removed apparently at the behest of pressure that was exerted by the federal government onto these social media companies, that they were saying, well, those aren't true. That needs to be true. You need to take that down. That's disinformation. And on the surface, that seems very questionable. I mean, that seems to smack of a First Amendment violation. Hey, you have the federal government pressuring. Now, that's the operative word here, pressuring. What constitutes, and this is where I'm going to get lawyerish with you guys, and I hate to say that because I'm going to sound like an annoying lawyer here. The question really hinged on what is pressure and what is coercion. See, does pressure mean coercion? And when, from the government, at least from the perspective of the middling justices on the Supreme Court, that's really what this case hinged on. And when I'm talking about the middling justices, I'm talking about Justice Kagan, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and Justice Kavanaugh. And these are the swing justices that are going to be integral into determining whether the Fifth Circuit's decision stands. And that question really hinges on where do they draw the line on whether the government is exerting pressure. In other words, having them trying to spin, trying to say, hey, don't do this, this is wrong because of this X, Y, Z reason, or whether they're actually trying to coerce the government, saying, hey, these are threats. If you don't do what we're saying, we're going to take some sort of action against you. And that's where we're really trying to draw the line here in this case.
Okay, so the question I'll also get to in a second is having to do with the end result. I mentioned News Talk STL actually has a small part in this case. We were contacted by then Attorney General Eric Schmidt after we were thrown off of YouTube because some of our hosts were talking about various treatments and vaccines and things, which eventually, like you said, it turned out what they said was correct. So we still got thrown off. So the end result was that YouTube, which has just become anti-conservative, which is why I prefer Rumble. But either way, the end result is that voices were silenced or at least limited. So does the impact matter when it comes to making a ruling like this, or is it just on those sort of defining how much pressure is too much pressure?
Right. Well, so you have two instances here. You have the standing issue, which in that a large portion of the oral arguments involve standing. And standing is whether the parties were hurt. And standing actually has three elements. There's the injury. And so deplatforming would be the injury, right? Removing your posts from social media, you've suffered some sort of injury, some sort of violation of your First Amendment rights. The next thing is traceability and redressability. So traceability here is where you get, and again, I'm sorry about this. I'm apologizing. This is lawyerisms. But traceability is, can you trace that violation to the government, or is it too attenuated here? So what the other side will argue is they'll say, well, wait a minute, the injury was you were deplatformed by YouTube. Well, YouTube engaged in that deplatforming. They took you off your platform. It's YouTube's right to remove or put on anybody they want because they're this private entity. There's no traceability directly to the government. And then you have to get to that next step, right? Whether the government's actions, and this is where we come back to the coercion versus pressure, whether you can actually show the traceability that the government's pressure or coercion, wink, wink, nod, nod. And that's when you delve down into actually what they really were doing here. What's the meat of this? Are they threatening them? And that was kind of a little problem that I think the advocate from Louisiana get hung up on. Was there an actual threat that was coerced? And again, I completely understand how somebody would get frustrated. I'm frustrated too with this. This gets into these nuances. Well, what did the government do? Did they actually invoke threats? Well, Justice Alito raised the issue. Well, hey, the government doesn't really need to outwardly threaten you. It's the government. The federal government has all these enormous powers. They can revoke your licenses. They can they can investigate you from an antitrust violation perspective. So there's all these kinds of wink, wink. There's all these kinds of threats that are out there, but the question here is it too attenuated? The next issue was whether the Fifth Circuit went too far. Was their injunction overbroad? Was it just saying, hey, we're prohibiting all communications from the federal government with these social media platforms? Well, you might get into some problems there because, of course, smart attorneys or justices predisposed to rule against you can create hypotheticals where they'll say something like, well, wait a minute. Media, you have public spokespeople who are always talking to the media. They're always trying to spin the media. Are you saying that your public spokesperson can't talk to the media? If the media puts out a wrong article that's completely wrong on the facts, the public spokesperson can't say, hey, look, here are the facts. Maybe you want to correct your article. So you get into a problem here about whether the Fifth Circuit's, the district court's injunction upheld by the Fifth Circuit was too broad. And, I know this is what happens when you delve into the meats of the details of it. You get into what constitutes coercion, what constitutes pressure. Is it coercion? Is it pressure? Is it traceable to the federal government? All these issues come aboard and come abroad during the Supreme Court. And again, when you have three justices like Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Kagan, two justices who work in the federal government, they are kind of bringing their experience as federal government employees. They were in the Clinton and Bush administrations, respectively. They were saying, hey, wait a minute, we need to talk to the media all the time. Are you telling us that I'm in an executive agency, I can't talk to the media? So these are the kind of problems, and this is why I'm not really optimistic that we're going to get that the Supreme Court's going to rule on our side here, guys. Even though I clearly am with you, and I'm a First Amendment purist, and I see where you're coming from with your points.
Good morning, Mike. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So I kind of have two questions. I'm trying to decide which one's the most important. Yeah. But I guess I'm wondering what happens with the ruling here. What the rulings can kind of go either way. Either it's for your argument or against your argument. What's the fallout looking like?
Well, if they rule, okay, so what happened is there was an injunction, and that was a temporary order. So that was an order saying that the government can't do this. And then that injunction was stayed, so it's not in place right now, and it was stayed pending appeal. And then if the Supreme Court rules that the injunction was overbroad, they can remand it and saying it was overbroad, you need to reconsider it based on these factors, and the government will be able to continue to contact these individuals or contact social media companies, will be able to engage in these sort of actions. But there is the one effect is, I mean, if I'm trying to find a silver lining here is, hey, look, you guys are on notice. There might be something like, you're on notice. This is the delineation. This is clarifying. Remember, we're in this era now where this is new law. This is kind of new factors. It's not new law. It's applying precedent, but it's to a new set of factors. And social media companies, the federal government, you guys are now on notice that this is what constitutes coercion. This is what constitutes pressure. This is where the line is to be drawn. You might be able to talk to them, but you can't do X, Y, and Z. We'll see what the decision what the decision looks like in a couple of months here.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Stalpontikis here. Since you apologized for being a lawyer, sort of, I'll apologize, sort of, for being a kid from Chicago, because this coercion to me feels like mafia tactics, as in, boy, it'd be a shame if you don't do what we're suggesting.
That's my other question.
I'm with you on that one. I see it. Go ahead.
And my thought is, you know what, the evidence is there, so am I reading too much into this? Because it sure seems kind of cut and dry to me.
I'm with you. I think, look, if a government official calls you up and says, hey, you might want to take that down, I take that very seriously. And I think personally, and that's my personal opinion, if they're gonna call me up and they're gonna say there is a wink, nod element to this. So particularly in regards to these sorts of, you're talking about COVID, you're talking about issues that, again, it's all free, it's free speech. You should be able to put this sort of stuff up, even if it's true or even if it's ultimately false. And so there was a question which really chilled a lot of us First Amendment folks. Justice Jackson posited this, she asked a question which threw us all into this incredible loop. She said, the First Amendment hamstrings the government in a significant way. And we said, yeah,
that's the point.
That's concerning to all of us. And we said, if that view is going to win out, then this is going to be a major loss for us. So I'm with you. I think that when you get a call from the government, everybody takes that seriously. I think back, particularly the COVID era, there was too much go along, get along. Everybody was willing, these social media companies, everybody was willing to just fall on their swords for the government, the entire country, except for those few smart holdouts. Now we're looking back in retrospect and we're saying those were the individuals who were ultimately right. And that's what's going to happen again. So you need that dissension. You need that sort of thing. So I'm concerned as well with it. Again, I'm just reading the tea leaves here. It doesn't look like those middle three justices are going to come down on the side where we're advocating for. So I would think that, at best we can hope for is some sort of standard that the government can say, hey, this is what constitutes a coercion. This is and this is where the line is crossed. So, hey, government, you can't do A, B, and C, or you will engage in a First Amendment violation if you do these sorts of actions.
In regard to the shakedown analogy, are there any precedents of with that? I mean, can a mook go into a bodega in New York and just say, hey, it'd be a shame if this place were to burn down? I'm pretty sure I can guarantee it if I got $50 a week.
Right.
Is there a prohibition from him doing that simply by the possibility of the violence he presents?
Right. That's where I go back to the original standard you're talking about here is what's pressure versus what's coercion.
Right.
What is, and that's where you're talking about. And this is why they were pressed. The advocate for the states was pressed to present an example of an actual threat. So if you can establish a coercion, and we're talking about standards here, if you can establish actual coercion, and the factors necessary for that, is there some sort of threat? Is there some sort of outward action? I think that you could go that far, but we're talking sophisticated parties here, and this is what I always like to say about the government: is they're smart. Government lawyers, government officials will be well versed if they're engaging in behavior that's kind of in that gray area we're talking about. it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be overboard. And as you just said, you're not going to go in and you're going to say, well, we're going to revoke your license if you don't do this. Well, that's an obvious threat. That would be an easy case. So I think that's kind of where we got hung up on. But if you can establish coercion rather than pressure, that's kind of the standard. And here we go, talking about what lawyers here. Well, coercion versus pressure, that just sounds like a distinction without a difference in my mind. But unfortunately, that's where the court's going to come down on.
Kind of like a legal Me Too movement is what's going on here.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Mike, and then we've just got a minute or so left here. I mean, obviously a lot of attention on the COVID situation, but we're in a presidential election year as well. Could this bleed over into bias into postings? I mean, if you're a private company, you've got a right to favor somebody over somebody else. It just seems to me that if the ruling goes against Missouri and Louisiana, that is just green light license to all the big tech and social media platforms. We are going to shape the conversation and stop what we don't like from being said.
Possibly. I mean, you could see that. And again, there was another case I think we talked about this about a few weeks ago or a month ago. It's the extent to which these social media companies have their own authority to do this, and whether they have editorial power, or whether they're like newspapers where they can editorialize and remove posts of yours, or whether they're like a town square where you have a right to express your opinions. Just like you go into a town square, you go into a shopping mall. Are they digital town squares, or are they newspapers that can exert editorial conduct? There's this decision, along with that decision I was just talking about, this Murphy versus Missouri, which was yesterday, and the other decision will really kind of lay the foundation for the extent to which social media companies can regulate speech on their platform.
We're going to get things going with the morning news dump in just about 2 minutes and 14 seconds right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
Let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country.
Imagine the future nightmare if Trump's back in office.
101.9 and 94.1.
Once we get all of this finished, I'm going to go after one person.
News Talk STL.
To all our incredible supporters, we at the David Dorn Foundation say thank you. Your 5-star online reviews that you recently posted are beacons of encouragement on our mission to assist first responders. And a shout out to Steve Katraba, who reviewed us with these powerful words. The Dorn Foundation continues to fill a need in the public safety community and thereby to the public. Steve, your words are more than a review. They show the impact we're making for first responders. To read more strong reviews, Google the Dorn Foundation now.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning with Gabe and Stell and, Mike. Always informative and entertaining. And don't forget my show, Larry Connors USA, 6 to 8 p.m.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, the Supreme Court gives Texas a win, and then another court takes that win away. So both the Biden administration and illegal immigrants had a good day yesterday.
So the government giveth and taketh away.
It does. It does. Exactly. All right. Illinois voters make their primary election decisions, and the Blues are looking to start another win streak. All right. It is 5:51 right now. Hey, good things can't last forever, right? That's Stell. I'm Mike. The property tax freeze approved by the St. Louis County Council will not be available this year. It is not going to happen, even though that is the law in the county. Now, that's after a proposal to fund the administrative cost of the program failed by a 4-3 vote. So here's basically what happened. Since the council approved freezing property tax bills for homeowners at least 67 years old who live in homes valued at or below $550,000, what's happened here is the Page administration has failed to implement the ordinance, saying, we don't have any money to pay for that. The stalemate likely means hundreds of thousands of seniors will see their property tax bills continue to rise despite the new state law that allows local governments to freeze those bills. So we'll get into that a little more detail later on. Okay, the Supreme Court allows a Texas border enforcement law to take effect, ruling, though, that the case be sent back to a federal appeals court.
In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court said the law can be enforced while a legal battle over immigration policy plays out. The Texas law allows state officials to arrest and detain people they suspect of entering the country illegally. The Biden administration is suing to strike down the measure, arguing it's a clear violation of federal authority. But Texas has said it has a right to take action in response to an ongoing crisis at the southern border. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, well, that sounds great, but don't get too excited because just hours after that ruling from the Supreme Court, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is where that case was kicked back to, put the law on hold, so Texas is still prevented from enforcing it. The case then will likely end up back before the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So essentially the case was not, the Supreme Court did not rule on the merits of the case. And we're going to get into this a little more in depth in just a little bit. But basically there was some procedural stuff. So it's just going to get drug out and out and out and out even longer. All right. Congressman Mike Bost wins the Republican primary in Illinois' 12th district. About 3,200 votes out of over 92,000 decided that race between him and former state senator Darren Bailey. Ooh, that was close. Wow. The 12th district is heavily Republican, so Bost is likely to win re-election in November. He's almost guaranteed to win election in November.
That should be an indicator to people that your vote counts.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, 92,000 votes in that congressional district, and 3,200-ish is what actually made the difference in that race. You know, and here's the thing. Darren Bailey's a conservative guy. He ran against J.B. Pritzker for governor, kind of got stomped. But why he decided to challenge Mike Bost, I'm not sure, unless he just didn't have any other offices to run for, because, Mike Bost has been very, very solid. And, of course, Mike's on with us about once a month or so. Congratulations to Mike Bost. And there were a couple other bright spots in the Illinois primaries in a couple places around the states, which we'll get into around, let's do that around 6:05 or so.
Well, that's good to hear.
It is, yeah. All right, the Cardinals went 1-1 on Tuesday, winning their early game against the Marlins. Final score there was 11-10, so bad day for ERAs for pitchers in that one. In the afternoon game, the Mets got the win over the Redbirds. That was 3-1. This afternoon, the Cardinals play the Nationals at 5:05. I could not see anything where that's going to be streamed or on TV. So unless you are actually at spring training, you're not going to see that one, which my friend Steve was texting me last night. He's at spring training, sending me pictures from Florida saying, hey, if you need a roving reporter from spring training, just let me know, and sending me the report, which is really just him rubbing it in that he's at spring training. And I've been up here in 20 and 30 degree weather, although it's going to be nicer today.
He's just trying to be a nice guy.
Yeah, he is a nice guy, but he also knows that I'd rather, frankly, do baseball stuff. The ranking of my stuff is do something with my wife, do something with baseball, than everything else. And so I think he's having a little fun with me right there.
By the way, is it just me, or am I seeing a lot of not blowback, but a lot of discussion regarding Arlie Marmol getting re-signed again as manager?
Yeah. You're seeing a lot of that. So the way that Arlie Marmol can shut everybody up is to start off hot in the season, stay in the race. You know, the fact of the matter is the National League Central Division is not the strongest division in baseball right now. So the Cardinals need to keep pace or stay ahead of the Reds. That's really what they need to do.
Hopefully it won't get that reputation again of being Comedy Central.
I hope not. Yeah, I hope not. I mean, there's in the next 3 or 4 years, I think it's going to be one of the stronger divisions in the game, but this year it's just not right now.
By the way, you mentioned Cincinnati, and Joey Votto got signed to the Blue Jays and got a home run.
His first pitch.
Oh, my goodness.
His first pitch in a Blue Jays uniform, he takes one to center. Yeah, that was fun to watch. I mean, now that Joey Votto's not a Red, I can like him.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I liked him before. He's
a good guy.
He is. Okay, the Blues 4-game winning streak comes to an end with a 4-3 loss to Colorado. Happened last night at Enterprise Center. Today's a travel day for the team. The Blues play again tomorrow in Ottawa. I think they've got 2 on the road, and then they return back home. They are 36-30-3 on the season, and they've only got like 12 or 13 games left in the regular season. I'll be a little surprised if they end up in the playoffs, but they're going to finish over 500. So, you know, a rebuilding year is a rebuilding year, and that's basically where they're meeting expectations, I think, this year.
If they can go on a streak and sneak into the playoffs, that'd be nice.
That'd
but
be
I agree
awesome.
with you. It'd be tough.
I'll be surprised. Hopeful, but surprised.
Pigeons, they are everywhere, and they're very good at dive bombing freshly washed cars. Wellington Environmental reminds you those droppings are more than a nuisance. They can be a major health issue, especially massive droppings on buildings or in parking garages. So who do you call to safely clean it up? You do what many hospitals, universities, public buildings already do. You call Wellington Environmental. Wellington Environmental has been dealing with all kinds of hazards for 35 years. Special people, special skills, special equipment. Wellington gets it done. So to avoid health issues ranging from pigeon droppings to mold to chemical leaks, contact Wellington. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Riding the Trump coattails to victory in the Buckeye State.
Cleveland businessman Bernie Moreno won Ohio's Republican Senate primary just days after former President Donald Trump visited the state to boost his endorsed candidate in a 3-way race that remained competitive to the end. Moreno will face off against 3-term Democratic U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown. Brown is a staple of Ohio politics, but is also amongst the year's most vulnerable Democrats. Democrats hold a tenuous 51-49 voting majority in the U.S. Senate, but are defending more seats than Republicans, and Ohio has trended Republican in recent years. Senator Brown's seat is expected to be a top GOP target. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And in California, Republican state lawmaker Vince Fong has advanced to a May runoff to decide who will complete the remainder of the term of former U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. As the southern border remains wide open,
a federal appeals court puts a Texas immigration law back on hold. Late Tuesday night, a 3-judge panel at the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals voted 2-1 against an earlier ruling from another panel that put the law titled SB 4 in effect. SB 4 would allow Texas police to arrest illegal immigrants. Arguments are set to be heard this morning on Texas' request to put the law back into effect. Tasha Stevens reporting.
North Korea claiming a successful test of a solid fuel engine for its new type intermediate range hypersonic missile. It's a more powerful, harder to detect missile. With the official arrival of spring comes the launch of the Major League Baseball season. The LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres playing the first regular season game in South Korea. Watching Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 33 points. NASDAQ futures 11 points higher. The S&P futures 2 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What shall we do with the broke propeller? What shall we do with the broke propeller? Don't look at me, I wasn't driving. Thank you, you're not helping. I don't even know why you bought this boat. You told me that you loved this boat. That was before you wrecked the boat. Well, now you've made it awkward.
Accidents don't just happen in sea shanties, so Progressive Boat Insurance has you covered. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you can save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Covered subject to policy terms and not available for all boats or in all situations.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Do you have a house that you've been thinking about selling, but maybe it needs a lot of work and you want to sell it in as-is condition? 314-417-1000. My name's Chad with Clayman Real Estate, where we've had a family business for over 90 years, and we buy houses direct from the seller with no middleman involved. 314-417-1000. We recently just bought a house from a nice person who had been in her house for over 30 years. Quite frankly, she wasn't excited about letting a bunch of people in the house, and she wasn't as proud of the house as she once was, and she was ready to sell. We came in and we made her an as-is offer with no repairs and no agency involved. It was just a one-time walkthrough. If you're in that situation and you have a house that you're thinking about selling in as-is condition and want a simple solution, reach out. 314-417-1000. 314-417-1000. Reach out to Clayman Real Estate today, and we will provide you with an as-is, simple solution to your real estate issue.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Imagine being a Jew and being accused of being anti-Semitic. That happened to Ethan Peck from the National Center for Public Policy Research. We'll talk to him Wednesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9.
On News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up, St. Louis.
Hey, will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, you may have gotten conflicting headlines in your news feed if you're scrolling like this morning or last night on Twitter or whatever. Did the courts allow the Texas immigration law to stand, or did the courts put it on hold?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you may have gotten conflicting headlines. The answer is yes.
Oh, come on.
I'll get there in a second. All right, those there ought to be a law people.
Yes,
they're getting a hard lesson in economics in a very, very left-wing city. This is fascinating to me.
Okay, in real time, huh?
In real time, I'm going to tell you about it at 6:20, happening right now as we speak in a major left-wing city.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get to that. All right, so let me give you kind of a quick. By the way, 6:06. Gabe Stelmike did the checkbox thing there. All right, explainer on what happened yesterday with this Texas illegal immigration law. What we're talking about is the law that Texas passed that said that law enforcement, if they come across somebody and determine that they are in the country illegally, they can arrest them.
Okay, good.
Under state law.
Yeah.
It is illegal to come into the state of Texas as an illegal immigrant. If you are not allowed to be here and you come into the country illegally, they can arrest you. So the Biden administration has been suing to stop that law, and that's made its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court kicked it back to the lower court but said, we're going to remove the hold or remove the stay on that law so that law can be enforced while it's being litigated, and they sent it back to a lower court. Well, that's where you got your first round of headlines.
Okay.
Supreme Court allows Texas law to go into effect, et cetera, and you probably saw those.
Yes.
Well, then what happened is hours later, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, Federal Fifth Circuit, put it back on hold.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So I don't know if the legal term in this is an injunction or a stay, but they stopped the law from being enforced. They said, nope, you cannot enforce the law while it's being litigated. So the case is now back at that federal appeals court level where we've got to go through that whole thing, which will take weeks or months. And then after that, it's certain to be repealed back to the U.S. Supreme Court. So the U.S. Supreme Court did not do what they call ruling on the merits.
Right.
So they didn't decide whether the law is constitutional or not. What they essentially decided by a 6-3 vote is that procedurally it should not have come to the Supreme Court the way that it did.
Okay. So this is a, hey, go back and try again kind of thing.
Go back and do the process better.
Do it right.
And then it'll come back up. So essentially, but what it reminds everybody of is that this is the Biden administration challenging the law. Texas puts up buoys in the Rio Grande, and the Biden administration sues to stop it.
Right.
Texas puts up razor wire along the border, and the Biden administration sues to have it torn down. Texas passes a law that says if we catch you being a criminal by coming into our country illegally, we're going to arrest you and enforce the federal law. The Biden administration literally sues them to stop them from doing this. So over and over and over, this is what we have is the hard left saying we are going out of our way to stop any effort to prevent illegal immigrants from coming into this country.
Right. Basically, they're saying, hey, don't stop us from doing what we actually want to do. Because I think, we were talking about how this is deliberate. Now, be it the chaos in cities because of their policies there, or the economic devastation because of the various policies that are being implemented around the country. And then on the border, I can't say that this isn't maliciously intentional.
Well, and then we talk about just the border, we talk about the president, but let's also look at Congress. We have there's a looming government shutdown again. By the way, there's one again. Okay.
Whatever.
And so the hang up here is that the left, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, et cetera, they refuse to come to a spending deal that, one, reduces any spending in a real way, or two, actually requires the border to be closed.
Right.
So congressional left-wingers, along with the administration and its left-wingers, they are all working hard in a very coordinated and aggressive fashion to make sure that our open borders remain wide open. And in the meantime, in St. Charles County, we've got two people with holes in their back right now because an illegal immigrant from Honduras, who the government knew was illegal, was allowed to roam free, and they didn't bother to arrest him until O'Fallon police picked him up for stabbing two people.
All three branches of government, whenever you find a leftist in any of the three branches of government, they are all working towards open border policy, and that open border policy is resulting in absolute destruction of the country, be it through public safety or economics or anything else.
Right. Yep, exactly. So at 7:05, James Massa from Numbers USA, he's got an additional take. I'm not going to say he's got a different angle, different take. He's also pointing out, I mentioned those budget deals, the looming government shutdown. Republicans right now, frankly, are kind of starting to run scared.
Oh, gosh.
Because they know that the media is going to blame them if there's a looming government shutdown.
True.
But
that is true.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you keep agreeing to the status quo that keeps the border open, at some point, do you own part of the problem?
Right.
So is the open border problem, is it becoming a bipartisan issue to where the Republicans are also saying, well, we really want it, but we're not going to actually push too hard?
Yeah, because of your fecklessness, are you contributing to the problem? Yeah. I think eventually that has to be the case. We have to regard that as the case.
So we're going to talk about that at 7:05. By the way, primary election day in Illinois, actually 5 other states too, but nobody
cares.
The presidential one's over. But some interesting results in the statewide stuff. In the 12th congressional district, which I think was the most watched district, man, that was a close one. It turns out. Mike Bost and Darren Bailey. Mike Bost won the Republican primary, the unofficial. I mean, there'll be some numbers tweaked a little bit.
Sure.
But basically out of 92,000 votes cast, almost 93,000, 3,200-ish votes made the difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mike Bost, according to the initial reports, a little over 48,000 votes, 51.7%. Darren Bailey, 44,800-ish votes, 48%. So we had a very, very close race in that. And of course, Mike Bost is on this program, about once a month or so, once every 3 to 5 weeks or so, we have him on. Darren Bailey's been on with some other shows as well, but Darren Bailey decided to challenge an incumbent, and then that did not go well for him. So, but as Stell pointed out about 15 minutes ago or so, out of 93,000 votes, only 3,200 made the difference in that primary race. Don't think for a minute that every vote doesn't count.
Absolutely, yeah, especially in primaries. My goodness, why? As inconvenient as it would be to wait in line to vote during the various primaries and things like that, I always lament the fact that I have such a quick time voting because come the big one every 4 years. Oh yeah, it's a big line and everybody's all ginned up to do the thing, and I look around and I just kind of want to scream at everybody, where were you 2 years ago?
Where were you when your school district ended up going super left wing and men in dresses are grooming children? You're like, how could this happen? Well, you didn't pay attention to who's running for the school board.
Absolutely,
you didn't pay attention to who's running for city hall. What do you mean that we have an official Pride Week and we're flying this flag and doing resolution? Well, you weren't there when they were. Why are you surprised when your city council or your county council is wasting money on woke stuff or they're just doing corruption stuff? Well, you didn't show up for those because they're not sexy enough races. But yeah, you're going to be there in a presidential race where no matter who the Republicans nominate, the Republicans win Missouri and they lose Illinois.
Right.
I'm not saying your vote doesn't count. It does. But those, we know how those are going to turn out in the states. It's far more important for you to be there in the primaries and the local elections.
Yeah, and really, it's those the primaries and the local elections that eventually shape the national picture.
Yeah.
So if you're complaining about who's on the ticket now, well, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, however long ago, it would be if there was somebody who was running who didn't get a chance, who could have been they could have been a contender, but you didn't help them make it.
Nice reference.
Thank you.
Also, Illinois Freedom Caucus members Blaine Willauer and Brad Holbrook, who both been on this program, they both won their primaries. Brad Willauer won big. Blaine Willauer won decisively. Now, What's interesting about those is not just because they're in the Illinois Freedom Caucus in a deep blue anti-freedom state, but these are two of the races, especially Blaine Willauer's, where the teachers' unions put a huge amount of money trying to primary them. So the left-wing unions got behind Republican challengers to the Illinois Freedom Caucus, and both of them came out on top. I haven't seen how all of the members did, but I know that they won, and then some Freedom Caucus adjacent reps have also won theirs. But Blaine Willauer, Brad Hallbrook were both very close watched races, and they both ended up victorious on that.
Good stuff, y'all.
A little bit of a bright spot for Illinois there.
Yeah, please.
All right, left-wingers, they decide to go all economic social justice with their ordinances, and thousands of people are paying the price immediately here. We will tell you about that around 6:20. And while this is a left-wing city somewhere else, it's something to watch for when you listen to the politicians in Illinois, you listen to the politicians in St. Louis City. It's the same thing, but it's a fascinating immediate response to left-wing stupidity and economics. I'll tell you all about it right around 6:20.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
It's Lincoln Day in St. Charles County. This is Tim Jones inviting you to join News Talk STL and U.S. Senator Josh Hawley on Friday, March 22nd at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Charles. Cocktails, dinner, Senator Josh Hawley, and a room full of fellow conservatives. It will be a great, fun night. Just log on to stcharlesgop.com for more details and to purchase tickets, and we'll see you there. That's Friday, March 22nd at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Charles. stcharlesgop.com, stcharlesgop.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Maela Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Bernie Sanders trying to make the case for the 32-hour work week. He doesn't want rich people to be rich. In his utopia, everybody makes $1 million to not work. He was coherent.
He was.
The president is not. The lights are on in Bernie's house. It's just that they're all kerosene gas lamps from 1922. But they're on.
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant Alex Staff Stevens. Sergeant William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I'm proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I am proud to be a member. And I'm proud to serve in the United States. And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Speaker Tim Jones here. Make sure you listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show every day from 4 to 6 p.m. But right now, let's get back to our early morning media mogul, Mike Ferguson, in the morning.
All
Aren't moguls rich?
They're supposed to be, I think. Just like
I want to be a mogul now.
A rich, crazy person is eccentric. See, that's the difference between.
I'm saying the trade-off there is probably okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose so.
All right. Left-wingers go all left-wing in the name of economic justice.
Yay.
They're hurting thousands of people in the process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
okay, here's why I'm bringing this up. Is because this is what you're hearing, not just from media everywhere, including here in St. Louis, including in red Missouri, much less blue Illinois, but this is what you're hearing out of City Hall in St. Louis City. This is what you're hearing out of some of the farther left in St. Louis County on the county government. This is what you're hearing in the activism on university campuses. This is what K through 12 education is teaching.
Yes.
Economic justice.
Yes.
Social justice.
Equity.
Equity. This is what they have been pushing for years. And so now we're seeing this come to fruition in one deep blue left-wing city.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see the equity play out.
It's a case study. And it's fascinating to me. By the way, 314-912-1019. That's how you get involved in the program here. Still ahead here. The Biden administration doing everything it can to force EVs on us, electric vehicles, because the environment.
Yeah, because it's supposed to help.
Yeah, but
with that, right?
But are EVs actually helpful in reducing pollution?
Well, that's a different question, Mike.
So there's the real science conflicts with the political science. Trademark question, exclamation point. That reality check comes your way at 6:35.
All right.
It's been a while since we've done these.
Yeah. The
science.
Yeah, because it's. Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Yeah. All right. So here's what's happening.
Oh, by the way, sorry, just to interrupt really quick because it made me think of it. The science. I think it's the 4-year anniversary of 15 weeks to slow, 15 days to
15
slow
days to slow the spread.
Yeah.
It's
a full 4 years ago.
Right.
Like today or yesterday or something like that.
You know, and the thing is, I saw a whole bunch of people pointing out saying, remember what these people who are running for office are doing right now. These people, remember what they were doing then.
Yeah.
Remember what they did to you then.
Yes.
Right. Precisely. We cannot forget nor forgive that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, voters have short memories.
Yeah.
We cannot.
No, we can't let it go.
We have to remember, because as we're seeing, and we'll talk about this in the 7 o'clock hour, literally before the U.S. Supreme Court, some of the big government oppression that used the scaremongering as an excuse, that's literally before the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court may rule in favor of some of the fear-mongering.
Yeah.
The Biden administration is still going to court litigating, trying to hold on to the authority that they claimed to literally control your face. You know, so
the Sam Pages of the world.
Yeah, the Sam Pages of the world, the Tashara Joneses of the world. I am still seeing people who are extreme leftists still argue on Facebook, you know, saying, well, those lockdowns save lives.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they literally are trying to convince people. So it's not about the virus. It never was. It is about power and control. And we cannot ever, ever forget that. You know, we need to be reminded of all these stupid things that people went along with. I remember driving in Maplewood, driving by a park outdoors, police crime scene tape.
Oh, yeah.
Wrapped up all over all the equipment because children couldn't go outside and play.
You're not allowed to come outside to play. No.
Somebody pointed out, and I can't take credit for this snarky thing, but people thought, I'm going to be safer if I follow one-way arrows in the grocery store.
Yes. Yeah, and you got to wipe down your groceries with sanitizing wipes. They actually got me on that one.
Yeah.
And leave all the boxes on the porch for a day or two.
Let them air out.
Yeah, any delivery you get, leave it outside for a day or two.
If you're jogging on the beach, we got to chase you down because you can't
arrest you.
You can't be out here.
Right,
can't be out here, buddy.
And you look at all of that's before we get into the big picture stuff.
They set up camps in Australia.
Oh, and put people in them.
Yes. And everybody in the white uniforms and behind fences and stuff.
And then they set up mobile morgues here in the St. Louis area and all over the country, and did not end up using them.
No,
because the fear-mongering turned out to not be true.
Sent a hospital ship to New York Harbor.
Right.
It just sat there empty.
Were there higher deaths? Yeah, but you know what?
Maybe.
Well, maybe. But
those numbers are still in contention.
They're in contention. But here's the thing, though, is if you did not have an emergency medical issue, your dialysis clinic was shut down.
Yep.
Your doctor's office was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get diagnosed with things.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people who have been diagnosed too late and died because they couldn't get treatment
because of the shutdowns.
Because some bureaucrat said you're not allowed to go into something if it's not an emergency.
It's not essential.
Yeah,
it's not essential, Mike.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
let's
diversion.
Okay.
That's
So,
important, though.
Minneapolis.
Mhm.
Okay, so Minneapolis, very left-wing, social justice-y type of place. I mean, heck, this is where the George Floyd riots came out of.
That's where they started.
And so the city council there passed a law saying that gig businesses, Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, et cetera, that they have to make sure that anybody who's working on their apps gets paid the local minimum wage of $15.57 per hour.
Okay. So when they did that math, I guess I'm assuming I'm going to make an assumption here that because I haven't seen the story that the Lyft and Uber they did the calculation. They said we can't do that, so they
Correct.
just stopped.
Yes.
Okay, they just turned it off.
That's exactly what
So
happened.
they geo-locked
right,
the app.
they have geo-locked the app, or they will effective when this ordinance goes into effect.
Wow.
So here's what happened is, of course, they did the living wage thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Minneapolis, like St. Louis, not as bad as St. Louis, but they're hemorrhaging, businesses and people. Of course, they haven't really built back everything that's been burned down already as well. But when you hear leftists talking about we got to demand a living wage, when Bernie Sanders says we have to mandate a living wage, these businesses are greedy, et cetera, they decided that because the gig work is a contract work, if you go on Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, whatever it is that you do, you decide which jobs to take, which not to take.
Yeah.
You make your own money on
You're
it.
an independent contractor.
But they said these companies are skirting the law. These should be employees, and they need to guarantee that that's their what they make. Well, Uber and Lyft said that doesn't work.
Right.
The math doesn't work.
And they're not employees.
Right, and they're not employees, precisely. And so what Lyft told the customers, we're leaving Minneapolis. The Minneapolis City Council passed an ordinance to make rides on Lyft platform unaffordable for the majority of Minneapolis residents because they would have to build that into the pricing.
Yep.
And then, the ride that costs you $8 is now going to cost you, 16 or 17 or 18. The ride from the airport to whatever, which would normally, I think my ride from the airport to my house when I flew back from Florida was $24 or something like that. So in this situation, you could be looking at somebody saying $50-$60 an hour or for a ride or something like that. Well, that's cost prohibitive. And so what they're doing is if your ride starts or ends in the city of Minneapolis, you're blocked. They won't do it. So the mayor there, Jacob Frey, who's very left wing, he was like, he vetoed it. The city council overrode the veto.
No, they didn't.
They overrode the veto.
Dummies. Oh, my gosh.
Right.
So
And-
they had the same information as he did.
Right. And so
And they
they
vetoed
overrode it because virtue
They
signaling and ideology
Right.
is going to be more important to them. Well, it's estimated over 10,000 people are going to be affected when it comes to actually doing delivery, driving, or ride sharing. I mean, there's a lot of people who do these in these major cities.
Yeah.
Not to mention all of the people now who will not be able to access that. You can do the taxi thing if you want, but Uber and Lyft have a better product, in my opinion. Have you seen the taxis up by the airport? No, thank you. And it's not that much different out there. So when the person who's had 2, 3, 4 drinks, too many at the bar, like,
They
I'm
stumble
gonna,
out. They want to.
I want to go on my ride app. Nope, you can't do it.
Nope.
Well, what do you do now? Do you call the number and try to get a taxi, or do you just go, I'll give it a shot?
Oh, boy.
I mean, that's really, from the airport to wherever it is where you're going. And so all of these different things now, it's a service that the free market has opened the door for.
Think about all the economic activity just in general. I mean, because you mentioned 10,000 individuals, I guess, who may estimated to be affected by this thing. But those 10,000 individuals were going to do business with like 100,000 people.
Right.
The economic activity associated with all of those exchanges, those free exchanges are gone.
Whenever I'm in a Uber or a Lyft ride, I always try to strike up a conversation with the driver. I have never yet heard one single person who did not appreciate the freedom.
Oh, gosh.
That those offer. And you've
That's
got
why they do it.
Leftist governments in California, New York State, now Minneapolis, they're going after things that provide people economic freedom. You know, for instance, my wife has a son who's trying to get started in his career. He just finished, just took a few college classes. He's just out of high school. He's starting his college. He wants flexible work so that he can make money. And this is appealing to him now. He's signing up with like DoorDash and that sort of thing because not a lot of businesses are hiring the way that they were before because of inflation and cost and all that sort of thing. So this provides opportunity, and left-wing governments want to tamp down opportunity because they want to micromanage business. So if it's something freedom-based, they don't want it, and they tell you that it's because of their social justice or economic justice.
It's funny because there's always this talk about economic ladders and things like that, but they always want to remove the bottom rungs.
No, they want somebody else to pick up somebody and put them on the upper rungs, whether they have the experience or strength to do it or not. All right, 314-912-1019.
By the way, one side note here that I thought was interesting, Don, on YouTube, and I guess he's watching your YouTube, not the station YouTube.
Yeah, well, I would have to be, yeah.
He said, think of how many DUIs have been prevented
exactly
because of those rides being available.
I personally know people who are like, I decided to take an Uber. I got to go back and get my car. I'm like, good for you. That's the way to do it.
That's the way.
Exactly. Don's right. Yeah. All right. Biden administration wanting to push electric vehicles basically at all costs. But do they actually help get rid of pollution and make the air cleaner? And are there environmental benefits? We're going to talk to a former Trump administration Department of Justice official about that right around 6:34 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
The wait is over. Capriati's is now open. Taste extraordinary with our one-of-a-kind sandwiches, like our award-winning Bobby with hand-pulled butterball turkey and stuffing, our roast beef with hand-sliced American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, or our crowd-favorite classic cheesesteaks with your choice of grilled steak or chicken. No matter which you choose, you'll always get Capriati's high-quality ingredients. Capriati's. Eat extraordinary. Order now at capriatis.com or on the app.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo from my friends at A+ Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A+ has always done great work for a great price. A+ Plumbing and Drain is a local, family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A+ for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A+ Plumbing and Drain.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Every time I think of you, I always catch my breath, and I'm still standing here
When it comes to policy debates, particularly over something as divisive or as debatable as environmental policy, your car is at the front and center of so many of these. And the Biden administration has been among, I would say, the most aggressive administration in pushing for electric vehicles. Why? Well, they say it's better for the environment. Lower emissions, better when it comes to pollution. But is that actually true? Because if you have bad information and bad science, eventually bad policy is going to follow, and that's bad for all of us as consumers. Well, what's that mean to you? Let's talk about it. I'm Mike Ferguson. I am now joined by Michael Buschbacher, who was with the Justice Department's Environmental Division during the Trump years in the White House. And Michael, thanks for being with us here on the program. Real quick kind of overview. You had an op-ed that was published in the Wall Street Journal, and you're calling into question some of the foundational arguments over electric vehicles. We can talk about mandates, we can talk about quotas, we can talk about all of that. But if I'm reading this right, you're simply questioning whether or not the environmental and pollution benefit is there as claimed in the first place. Kind of expand on that.
Yeah, so in their quest to ban the internal combustion engine, both California and EPA have claimed that electric vehicles emit the same amount of particulate pollution as their conventional counterparts. And they just don't actually have any evidence for this. Today's cars are so clean that almost all of the particulate pollution is coming from not the tailpipe, but from tire wear and to an extent from brake wear. One study found, for instance, that tire wear emissions are about 400 times greater for a conventional internal combustion engine than what you actually have coming out of the tailpipe. And this makes sense, right? As the tires rub on the ground, the little bits and pieces that fly off enter the air. Electric cars are about 15 to 30% heavier than their counterparts with a conventional internal combustion engine, and they have more torque. So unsurprisingly, you get more particulate matter in the air from that tire wear. EPA in California, however, just ignore this difference. California says that it would just be speculative to assume that the difference in weight is not just going to go away for magical reasons at some point in the future. And that's just wrong. And the reason why, you can speculate about this, but partially I think it's that they love kind of the aesthetic and the sort of future vibe of EVs, but the real elephant in the room is climate. California's special regulatory authority over cars, though, is about local air pollution. So they've had to backfill these additional justifications for what they want to do in terms of electrification. But if you take a look at it, it just doesn't hold up under scrutiny.
And California state regulations have a disproportionate effect on the market, correct? Because if you don't meet California standards, you can't sell them. Well, a lot of companies cater to those standards because of the size of the market in California. So this ends up affecting all of us, doesn't it?
Well, it's not just California. So the Clean Air Act, by this kind of quirk, actually allows only California, no other state, to set rules for the emissions from cars and trucks. This was kind of a compromise going back to the 60s that recognized basically that California had unique smog problems. Fast forward to the present day, and they've largely fixed the problems that come from cars for local air pollution. So they've had to come up with increasingly diminishing returns to justify their regulation. But the real purpose is climate. So it's about 40% of the new car market actually has to comply with California rules because other states can piggyback on those. They can't make their own rules that are different, but they can copy what California has.
Okay, so I want to clarify that right now that there are federal regulations that default to one state's rules.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did I hear you correctly on that?
You're absolutely right. So EPA has the job of setting emission standards under Title II of the Clean Air Act for mobile sources, cars, trucks, you name it, stuff that moves around. The only exception to this is for California. And if you look at Section 209B of the Clean Air Act, you'll see that there's a special carve out that they can get permission from EPA to have their own rules if they meet certain criteria. And that's where this latest issue came up about particulate matter, was looking at an application that California put in to ban the internal combustion engine by 2035. And they make this argument that they need it because they need to do something about particulate matter pollution, but they're just wrong about that.
As it stands right now, California is still planning to have that complete ban by 2035. Some other states, New York State and some others, are trying to do something similar. Does this information that you're talking about, as far as the particulate matter from the tires, which I would have never thought to look at tires, I'm just thinking what comes out of the muffler. But does this have the attention of anybody in Capitol Hill and in the administration right now to say, well, wait a minute, we could be destroying a market and completely upsetting the residual effects and everything else? I mean, if you can't drive your truck or you can't buy a new truck, you have to get something that's less effective. That affects basically every other industry in the United States.
There's been increasing interest on the Hill. There have been a few bills passed from the House over the last year and a half or so. But this administration is the Biden administration is completely in on electric vehicles. They want to mandate it. President Biden actually set a goal in an executive order back in 2021, saying by 2030, half the new fleet needs to be electric. They have no legal authority for this, which is why they're doing things like cooperating with California to try to make that happen. I think it's profoundly misguided. Even if you're talking about carbon emissions, electric vehicles are just not a cost-effective solution. And if you talk about the overlapping federal and state regulations, what California actually does almost nothing to reduce carbon emissions in the country, maybe even nothing. And that's even on their own assumptions.
Okay, so I am going to have to buy a new car in the next, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. I just bought one. I hope it lasts for a long time. At some point, I need to buy another car. How does this affect me as a consumer? If I need something medium-sized to haul stuff around, am I going to be in a position where I have to buy something that doesn't fit my needs? I mean, we're talking about messing with the actual free market here.
Oh, it's absolutely messing with the free market. They want to force electric vehicles on everybody. In the meantime, as this ramps up, I mean, look, electric vehicles cost a ton to make, and like Ford, for instance, has been public about the amount they lose on every EV they make. It's like $60,000. So to stay profitable as a company, they have to jack up the prices of all the conventional vehicles. We actually did the math on this, and if they continue losing that amount of money in the next several years, it's going to go from that cross subsidy is going to have to go up, and the average new cost of a Ford, for instance, would have to go from about $30,000 to over $90,000. So it's not just going to force a lot of people to buy electric. It's going to just jack up the price of cars across the board in a really radical way.
Yeah, so we could actually be pricing middle income and lower income people out of individual transportation, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's the goal. California has expressly said this. California wants to reduce the number of vehicle miles traveled. And that means cars for the rich, and for the poor, you can walk or take the bus. And that's really destructive to economic opportunity for lower middle class and poorer folks in America. Having a car is is probably one of the most important ways that you can get access to economic opportunity. That doesn't matter to the Biden administration or California, though, because their view is that the way to address climate change is to degrowth the economy. In other words, a future of a lot less. I think that's just I just don't think that's justified. I think that's a bad idea.
And it sounds like with dubious benefits environmentally as well. All right, Michael, where do we connect with you and your work? Because I imagine people want to read this particular article that you wrote or just follow the work that you do.
So you can follow us at Boyd and Gray PLLC on X or Twitter. And that has links to all the articles that we end up putting up and updates about our various litigation efforts. We're lawyers and basically all the challenges to these electric vehicle mandates. So that's how I got interested in this topic. So you can follow us there.
All right, Michael Buschbacher, thank you so much. Really appreciate the update. It's going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You know, there's just something about the electric vehicle thing that backfires on the Biden administration and the loony environmentals and just the hardcore left every time we dig in to get more information. I would have never thought to look at the tire particulates. And a lot of people until just now probably didn't know that those electric vehicles are a lot heavier than the typical engine out there. So if you want to buy an EV, great, go ahead. I don't think the government should stop you. I also don't think that you should be subsidized at my expense to do it. And I sure don't think the government should be trying to stop you from buying a regular vehicle. Those have gotten so much more efficient and lighter anyway. The combustion engines are responding to the market. The electric vehicles need carve-outs to protect it from the market. That should tell you everything you need to know. All right, what do you think? 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Every time I think of you, I always catch my breath.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
And I'm wondering why you left. And there's a storm that's raging through my frozen heart tonight.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
In certain circles, and it always makes me smile. I spend my time thinking about you, and it's almost driving me wild. And there's a heart that's breaking.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Spring into green with Seidenberger Nobe Partners. Accelerate your productivity with one of our John Deere compact tractors. Right now, take advantage of 0% financing for 84 months with zero down, featuring payments as low as $210 a month. From landscapes to farming, these compact tractors can handle a variety of tasks. Seidenberger Nobe, your partner for the land. snpartners.com.
Offer valid through 4/26/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
My name is Todd Showalter, and I'm announcing the Right Mind Show is officially running Saturday nights at 5. I'll now open the floor for questions.
Is the Right Mind Show funny at all?
No comment. Next question. Yeah, you, different reporter with the same voice.
Your co-host is very cute.
Not a question. I've got time for one more.
Do you do any impressions on the Right Mind Show?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's Joe Biden getting out of bed.
The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, right here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Guess who just got back today? Them wild-eyed boys that had been away haven't changed, had much to say. But man, I still think them cats are crazy.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, the Supreme Court gives Texas a win, and then another court takes that win away, so both the Biden administration and illegal immigrants had a very good day.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. Also, Illinois voters make their primary election decisions, at least the ones that weren't already made by the party establishments. And Blues need to start looking for another win streak.
Oh, yeah, please.
All right, 6:50 right now. That's Gabe Pfeiffer's here. Stel Ponticus is here. I'm Mike Ferguson. All right, I want to start here in St. Louis County, okay? So we've talked a lot about this property tax freeze for seniors, and it's a little bit wonky and everything. I get that.
Yeah, a little
bit.
But
essentially, the end result is that those who are most likely to be retired and on fixed incomes can't afford to keep having government jack up its taxes every year on them because they're on a fixed income. Okay. So the state legislature passes a law that says local governments are allowed to freeze property taxes. Whatever your bill is this year, that's what your bill is from here on out, assuming you still live in your home.
Right.
Okay. So the property tax freeze approved by the St. Louis County Council, which they did approve that. That is the law in St. Louis County.
On the books.
Not going to happen this year.
Okay, so they just kind of randomly decide, we can't do that this year, or they have some good reason as to why they're not going to implement it?
Oh, no, the city or the county council says this is the law. It's the administration that says it's not happening.
Okay, right, yeah. So the administration has decided, we can't do it.
Right. So here's where it is. Now, after that law was passed, there was a proposal to fund the administrative cost of the program. So the Page administration drug its feet saying, we got to hire people, we got to get software, we got to do all the stuff, and then I don't have any money to do that. But the reality is that the county council passes a law, the administration is supposed to implement and enforce the law.
Yeah.
So they need to find the money. But there were proposals, and there was one yesterday at the meeting to fund just that, $1 million. And that was voted down. 4-3.
Now, here's the question, point of order, sir. Why does it take extra money to administer a tax that's already being administered?
Okay, or a tax freeze, even.
Well, I mean, it's just extra paperwork in addition to what
they have to do
already
anyway.
exists.
So the reason that would happen is because, and this is my personal opinion, but it's because there's an administration that does not like the law that was passed.
Aha. That's why there's a cost.
Yeah.
That's why it's an extra cost. Because honestly, it sounds like you receive some paperwork, you verify some IDs, and then you move on with why you put a little flag in the database next to their name that says, okay, when the assessments go through, this one doesn't go up.
Right.
Why is that?
Yeah, it doesn't cost.
And that actually should be that should be less work for the ones who do the assessments, because you eliminate the houses that are flagged from having to get reassessed.
You can assess it all you want. I mean, that doesn't, because that still affects the real estate market.
Oh,
but
yeah, that's true.
But it's just a matter of whatever the bill was last year. That's just what it is this year. So here's the thing: since the council approved freezing property tax bills, this is specifically for homeowners who live in their homes. They are at least 67 years old, and the homes are valued at or below $550,000, the Page administration failed to implement that ordinance.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with this. Yeah. So the stalemate means hundreds of thousands of seniors will see their property tax bills continue to rise despite the law in the books and despite the new state law that allows it as well. And so maybe next year, that's just the type of incompetence and corruption we're dealing with there.
So disgusting.
All right, the Supreme Court allows a Texas border enforcement law to take effect, ruling that the case be sent back to federal court. I'm going to start with the good news, but don't get your hopes up too much.
In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court said the law can be enforced while a legal battle over immigration policy plays out. The Texas law allows state officials to arrest and detain people they suspect of entering the country illegally. The Biden administration is suing to strike down the measure, arguing it's a clear violation of federal authority. But Texas has said it has a right to take action in response to an ongoing crisis at the southern border. Greg Clugston, Washington.
So the Supreme Court did not rule on the merits of the case, whether the law is constitutional or not. They said this has to go back through this process and send it back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which within hours ruled to put the law on hold. So Texas is still prevented from enforcing that law. The case will eventually end up back before the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, so we're kind of back to square one, I guess.
Right. With weeks or months more lag time before anything can be done.
All right. Because we have to allow more illegals into the country. So
basically. Congressman Mike Bost wins the Republican primary in Illinois' 12th district, about 3,200 votes out of over 92,000 decided that race between him and former state senator Darren Bailey, the 12th district, heavily Republican. So Mike is basically not guaranteed, but he's highly likely to win re-election in November.
Such a close race.
That was really close. Man, very close. Okay, let's see here. A couple things with sports. Cardinals went 1-1 on Tuesday, winning their early game against the Marlins. Final there was 11-10. A lot of runs scored.
Oh, man.
That's spring training baseball right there. That's also old man baseball. 11-10 is considered a really good game.
Hurting your ERA there.
That's right. In the afternoon game, the Mets got the win over the Redbirds 3-1. This afternoon, the Cardinals play the Nationals. That is the afternoon game, 5:05. So here's the thing is that spring training is now gone from everything was at noon to now things are shifting to where they're in the late afternoons or mid-afternoons because they're trying to get acclimated and ready for night games when the regular season starts. So you're going to see a lot more of those 5 o'clock and then maybe even a couple of 6 or 7 o'clock games. So they're slowly starting to shift those games a little bit later.
By the way, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. Oh, sorry. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Wait, I can get this abuse at home.
You're about to get a text.
Is Jordan Montgomery still available, the pitcher?
As far as I know, yeah.
Why aren't the Cardinals going after him? He's a southpaw, correct?
I think so.
I think so. My goodness, why wouldn't you want him in the rotation? I don't get it. Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
You trying to figure out that Cardinals front office. If you can do that,
I can't.
I know. Oh my goodness! All right, the Blues 4-game winning streak comes to an end with a 4-3 loss to Colorado last night at Enterprise. Today is a travel day. The Blues play again tomorrow in Ottawa. I believe they've got 2 road games, and then they're back at the Enterprise Center. Right now, the Blues are 36-30-3 on the season, and there's, 12 or 13 games left, something like that in the year. Not looking good for the playoffs.
No, I don't. I'm not thinking playoffs.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. But they did warn us it was a rebuilding year. So basically, I think they are meeting expectations for what we thought.
Right.
Yeah. All right, just ahead here. At what point do Republicans own part of this illegal immigration problem?
The Cardinals open the 2024 season at home on Thursday, April 4th. Don't miss the tradition and excitement of opening day at Busch Stadium. That day, all fans 21 and older will take home the 2024 Magnet schedule thanks to Budweiser. Never miss a game with this convenient information hub. That's Thursday, April 4th, the Cardinals home opener and the 2024 Magnet schedule presented by Budweiser. Tickets still remain. Get yours at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Lance Lynn, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
The Cardinals host the Marlins Saturday, April 6th, and that day, 25,000 fans, 16 and up, take home a Cardinals Hall of Fame Car Parade bobblehead. That's courtesy of Ford. Be surprised at the gates when you get one of the 2 mystery bobbleheads. Will it be Jason Isringhausen, or will it be the secret weapon Jose Oquendo? Find out and get your tickets and more information by going to cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Ozzie Smith, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
You want to give someone something which they will really enjoy? Give them a Cafe Napoli gift card. You pick the amount, and they pick which of the Cafe Napolis they want to visit. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Cafe Napoli in Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, or right next door, Napoli C. The Napoli gift card. It's the perfect gift for anyone, or your entire office. Cafe Napoli. Cafe Napoli.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at SouthernArmory.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason.
Growing increasingly difficult to keep track of the status of the Texas border law. For now, it's on hold again in advance of a hearing today before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Just hours earlier, the Supreme Court said the law allowing for the arrest and the deportation of illegal aliens could be enforced. So stay tuned. Big win for Trump-endorsed Bernie Moreno in the three-way Republican U.S. Senate primary in Ohio.
I wear with honor my endorsement from President Trump. I wear that with a badge of honor.
Moreno at a victory rally aired by WSYX WTTE. Now it's on to the general election where Moreno will face incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown in November. Former President Trump files a defamation lawsuit.
The suit is against ABC News and George Stephanopoulos following the questioning of Representative Nancy Mace about her endorsement of Trump. The March 10th interview made headlines after Mace, a rape survivor, accused Stephanopoulos of trying to shame her by probing why she endorsed the former president. At multiple points, Stephanopoulos said that the former president had been found liable for rape, which is not true. Trump asked for an unspecified amount of damages in the lawsuit, which was filed in federal court in Miami. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Israel says its military has killed scores of Hamas terrorists operating in and around Gaza's largest hospital and has captured many more at the Al-Shifa hospital. Israel insists it has taken care to try to shield civilians and medical personnel from harm as it attacks the terrorists operating in their midst. Later today, the Fed to announce its latest decision on interest rates, expected to leave the cost of borrowing unchanged. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 24 points. NASDAQ futures up 57. The S&P futures 4 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Let's thank the pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
She's gone from reporting on the sidelines to making sense of the headlines. It's the Michelle Tafoya podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
There are people, Democrat operatives, that are saying, things are not looking good. Maybe Mr. Biden needs to bow out. Maybe the president needs to take a look at what's best for the party and say, you know what, I'm not going to run again.
Subscribe to the Michelle Tafoya podcast today on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you.
Get up! Get up!
up, St. Louis?
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, yes, blame the Biden administration, blame the courts if you want, but at some point, do Republicans in Congress have to own up to some of the illegal immigration problem just by going along to get along and being afraid of government looming shutdowns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get into that in just a minute here. It is 7:05 right now, going on 7:06. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here, got Stel Ponticus here. My name is Mike. Federal officials, by the way, warning about the next generation of terrorism attacks, and they're high tech, and they could mean that your weird prepper friend is proven to be right. Let's talk about that at 7:20.
I'm not weird. Why is he looking at us? Gabe?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like,
Just
come on, man.
All right. All right, 7:20 for that one. And by the way, it is something that we have been warning about here for a while. And then I think people are like, oh, yeah, that's fringy, you weirdo conservatives. No, even the administration is saying, oh, this is a problem. All right, now joined by James Massa from Numbers USA. James, I want to get into where the Republicans need to take a stand at one point regarding illegal immigration. But before that, obviously dueling court rulings to some degree. The Supreme Court says they're going to end the hold on the Texas law that allows law enforcement to detain illegal immigrants. Then the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals immediately says we're putting that law back on hold while the Supreme Court kicks it back. So a little bit complicated in the legal sense, but the bottom line is right now the Biden administration continues to sue in order to stop any effort, frankly, to block illegal immigration. What's your reaction to that court ruling from both the Supreme Court and the First Circuit before we get into the funding stuff and the Washington stuff?
Well, it is a bit dizzying to watch the back and forth of this ping pong match between the courts as to what is going to be considered legal and what's illegal. But the bottom line, as you say, is that the federal government, who is supposed to be responsible for immigration and is by law responsible for immigration, the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws of Congress, and it's not doing that. And so it's coming upon the states to try to do anything they can to try to protect their citizens from the impact of having such a large number of people in their state, particularly those who are crossing the border illegally, taking jobs, and being able to undermine their economy in the states that are doing so well. So I think that Governor Abbott and other states are going to continue to try to do what they can to try to push back on the federal government, who just isn't doing its job.
Okay, and we absolutely in St. Louis right now have a fresh look at this because just a couple of days ago, we have an illegal immigrant from Honduras arrested in St. Charles County, Missouri, in a city of O'Fallon after he's accused of stabbing two people from a fight in a laundromat that happened. So it's getting very real to more places around the country, not just on the border. But let me ask you about this. I mean, we've got the looming government shutdowns, which we're constantly hearing here. And the Democrats won't budge on budget, on border stuff. The Republicans eventually agree to a short-term fix and status quo. We keep it going. The way I'm understanding your all's take on this, and you explain it, at some point, do the Republicans, by refusing to hold the line on the border and just agreeing to a continuing budget, at some point, do they become part of the problem in Congress?
Well, the opportunity for there to be a budget versus border battle is right now. And that opportunity is slipping away. It seems like it's not going to occur. And Speaker Johnson apparently wants to have that fight over Ukraine funding. But anybody who is not voting for stronger security today is complicit with the Biden administration's programs of bringing in more illegal aliens, paroling them into our inner cities, and giving them work permits to be able to compete with our citizens for jobs. It's by fault of not saying no and not standing up and saying enough is enough that this is going to continue to occur.
Good morning, James. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So I think a lot of normies out there, as I call the people who aren't exactly totally plugged into a lot of these political battles. They look at this situation and they're wondering why. How we got here? How does it happen that we have laws that the executive just simply can refuse to accomplish, and then Congress seems to have no power to make him do so? What are the mechanisms by which we can actually get any sort of enforcement on the border?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, you saw with the Mayorkas hearing where they actually impeached the Department of Homeland Security because of his not enforcing the law and standing up to his oath of office. The same thing applies to the President of the United States, but there are limited things that can be done. Impeachment is one of them. The other is that be able to provide the states the ability to sue the federal government. That's part of what's in the bill that was passed in the House in May of 2023 called H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act. It gives states standing in the lawsuit. So if they're negatively impacted by the federal government not enforcing the immigration laws, they can sue the Department of Homeland Security and get the courts involved. Today, the states have no standing to be able to do that. And so every time they bring something up, it's dismissed because of lack of legal process.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing right now with these court cases that we started with. And I wanted to mention that the basic premise of all these is that the Biden administration is literally suing to stop Texas from doing anything that prevents or even slows down illegal immigrants coming into the country. I mean, no state is trying to challenge the legal immigration process, the numbers, the quotas, the process of the visas, the asylum, nothing like that. It's specifically illegal immigration, and yet the federal government, the Biden administration, is continuing to argue, one, this is our territory constitutionally, and second, how dare you try to enforce the laws that we won't? And I think for a lot of people, it's almost incomprehensible, the legal arguments that are being made, but the effects are being felt everywhere, especially now that we're seeing, increased numbers of violent crime against Americans.
Well, this is the issue with why the Congress should stand up now. There has never been a Congress that stood up on these hard to understand issues and said, we're going to shut down the federal government, that the party who did that standing up wasn't penalized in the voting that soon followed. However, in this issue, it's kind of like, if I'm on a diet, is it better to eat a Snickers bar or an apple? Well, it's pretty clear it's an apple. And the same thing with immigration. Is immigration better or worse than where we want it right now? It's really bad. And Congress should be able to stand up. I think the people would stand behind the Congress and those who vote for border security, and they should make that stand now.
And that's, I think, what the Republicans are scared of. I think you've hit that right there square on the head, James, is that Republicans, I think, fear the penalty of being blamed for a so-called government shutdown more than they are hopeful that they will be given credit for standing up against illegal immigration.
Well, I think that's true. And again, historically, because the things that they've stood up for in the past have always been things that people can't relate to. But when people are stabbed in the city of St. Louis, when people are raped in other cities, when people are killed in other cities, and it's directly responsible because an illegal immigrant was actually in custody and then released back into society to be able to have these heinous crimes, people can understand that, and they can say enough is enough. So I think that Congress is missing an opportunity here. I applaud those who have actually put forth a statement and a resolution saying that we need to make the stand now. And I just wish that both parties, all people in Congress, would be voting for a secure border for our nation.
Good morning, James Stalponticas here. Speaking of the border issue, I was wondering what your thoughts might be regarding Tyson closing a plant in Perry, Iowa, and all those folks are out of work. I think about 10,000, and I don't know if I have that number correct. But then there are other folks saying that they're going to try to hire illegal aliens. Tyson denies that. So I was wondering if you have thoughts regarding that issue.
Well, I don't know, because only, I guess, Tyson's knows, right? But every indication is that's exactly what's occurring. And it's one of the situations that when you have rampant immigration, legal or illegal, you end up having this surge towards having cheap labor for places that want cheap labor, and those types of processing plants want cheap labor. Now, we want it to be legal labor, and we want it to be a fair wage with dignity and a safe work environment. That's not an unreasonable request, and American workers were willing to take those jobs when you pay them well and pay them in a safe environment. So the argument that they need to close and put 10,000 U.S. citizens out of work to be able to possibly hire illegal immigrants that are in our nation is a very sad statement on our society and our business. That the third rail of all that's going on, you got the Republicans and the Democrats, is the large businesses who want cheap labor. Yep. That's the political arm that keeps undermining things occurring for better security in our nation.
Yeah, I think that's something that gets lost a lot. Is and I don't are the businesses that typically people have thought have been benefactors of Republicans, but the reality is that if you crack down on illegal immigration, some of them are saying, hey, we're getting really cheap stuff under the table, and it's completely tilting the economy and the free market when it comes to the labor market in the U.S. So it's not even just about safety. It's not just about law and order. There's a lot at play here, and that's one of the things, James, that I think a lot of people just don't or refuse to understand, not just how dangerous it is, but how complicated it is and how the dangers expand just well beyond the border.
Well, going back to even Clinton and Obama, we've stated that we're a nation of immigrants, we're a nation of laws, and the thing that made the middle class the strength of America in the past was that we had a reasonably tight labor market, so that industry had to pay fair wages and create safe work environments for the employees. When you have this undermining occurring of 300,000 illegal immigrants being allowed into the United States on a monthly basis and them given work permits, it undermines the ability to have that supply and demand be an equal balance that's healthy for America. And that's what we're looking for, is something that's healthy for America. And when I say healthy for America, I mean U.S. citizens.
Okay, so last question here in the last minute or so we're visiting with James Massa from Numbers USA. People want to be in touch with their Congress critters. They want to put pressure on Washington, the Republicans in particular, to say, hey, now's the time to take a stand. What's the right messaging when they email, when they call? What's the right thing to say to move them in the direction of getting away from timidity on these in order to get them to take a stand? Because Republicans are hearing from their consultants, this is an election year. Don't shut down the government.
Well, I can tell you that what we do at Numbers USA is empower voters to make their voices heard in Congress. And if they go to numbersusa.com and look at the Take Action button, they will see for every issue that's sitting out there in immigration, ability to do a one-click email to their congressman. The phone number will be available for them. They can tweet to their congressman, and all that is made available to them through that website. And we also have apps on both the App Store and the Google Store to be able to download. So the message is, do something now. We need a secure border. But the way to make your voice effective is to contact numbersusa.com and take a look at the action board that we have available for you.
All right, James. Hey, appreciate the update. The longer this goes, the more frustrating and angering it is, and the more we see the headlines of the horrible outcomes of illegal immigration, the angrier people are going to get. And this is not just limited to one party now. So thanks so much for the update.
Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, all right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead, your weird prepper friend may have been right about something.
I'm right about everything.
By the way, James, I think it's important to point out that the Chamber of Commerce types, and I'm not blaming the actual Chamber of Commerce. Sure. You know what I'm talking about. They quietly like to talk a big game about small government and stuff, but the reality is that there are a lot of big corporations, a lot of big businesses that benefit from the crime of illegal immigration, and they really don't want government going too hard on that. So they're also part of the problem.
They want to protect the racket.
Yeah, I think James is right, though. I think at some point you look at the Republicans and you say, hey, at some point you're part of the problem. You own part of this when you won't take a stand. You keep going on with the status quo. You keep saying, okay, we'll keep everything the same and negotiate again in 30 days. At some point, you own this too.
Yeah, kind of a silence is assent sort of situation.
Yeah, talk tough, but you got to start delivering. All right, just ahead here, let's talk about those weird preppers maybe being right about something. That's at 7:21.
You want to give me more information? You want to take the place of what I trust?
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Hey, it's Wednesday at 4:25. We'll have our legal eagle, Zach Smith, on. And at 5:25, Representative Adam Schwadron, who's running for Secretary of State.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Katie here, and I'd like to talk to you guys about Michael's Flooring Outlet. You could gain peace of mind with Michael's Flooring Outlet for your flooring and carpet installation needs. Their team of experts ensures that the job is done right the first time, providing you with attentive and a personalized service. Just like my parents, you can trust them to replace your old carpet with beautiful hardwood flooring. Visit one of their 3 locations in Dardenne Prairie, St. Peters, or Creve Coeur, or check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hello, fans of the paranormal. I'm Frankie, host of the newest show on News Talk STL, On a Garage, and we'll be discussing everything paranormal. From ghosts, demons, hauntings, and aliens to Skinwalker, Bigfoot, fairies, and the Chupacabra. Every Saturday night between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., me and Jeremy will discuss mysterious events in St. Louis and surrounding areas, including gateway families and unsolved true crimes. That's right, it's all right here exclusively on News Talk STL from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Saturday night.
News, analysis.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's Morning Music Playlist at newstalkstl.com.
I don't like to stage things on the show. Everything here, is pretty organic here.
Yeah.
But would you mind asking me again what you just? So Gabe goes out and, I don't know, gets a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
He comes back in and out of nowhere says this.
Is it weird that I wonder what a chupacabra tastes like?
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, the thing is that we were just mentioning, they were talking about the show Haunted Garage, and they were talking about all the things that they would be discussing. And the chupacabra came up and like, yeah, I've wondered what a chupacabra. Yeah, I've also wondered what Nessie might taste like.
I'm allergic to seafood. I can't eat it.
Well, is it more alligator or is it more fishy?
See, you're dragging me down this rabbit hole because alligator doesn't taste good.
Come with me.
It's like chewy and hard. I've had alligator.
You have to have it prepared properly.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, exactly.
Do chupacabras like little scritches under the chin? I mean,
I'm not even sure what a chupacabra is supposed to look like. I know they're like little beastie out there someplace. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like a restaurant called like Cryptid Gourmet or something like that. Cryptid Gourmet, and you serve chupacabra and Nessie and I don't know what are the other ones.
Do you pin Mothman up in a shadow box like a science project? Like,
you have people dressed like Mothman and Bigfoot serving everything.
All I can say is Greeks don't eat either one of those.
No, like none of that. It's like,
all right.
So you're telling me the answer is yes.
Yeah,
it is weird. Okay.
It's weird that you think that.
Well, yeah, I'm a weird guy.
Let me try to put this back on the rails.
All right. Well, I am kind of a prepper. So,
there you go.
That makes me weird.
All right. So that prepper friend like Gabe here, we all have one, may actually be ahead of the game a little bit here. I found this really fascinating. It was a Newsmax article that I came across, but what used to be a weird fear that a lot of people rolled their eyes at is now actually a warning from the federal government. This is really interesting to me. And it's funny because I actually feel a little bit validated on this as well, because I was trying to think ahead. I'm like, okay, we've talked about terrorism, and I don't remember what the reason was that we came up for it. And I said, you know what I think it's going to be? Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be some kind of attack on utilities, on the electric grid.
The phones went down that one time.
That's what it was. And then I said, or the water. I mean, if you really wanted to do the most amount of damage or create the most amount of chaos. Yes, something like an explosive or something like that would definitely be bad. I'm not saying that we can't let our guard down for something like that, but I'm talking about what are the things that would actually hurt a lot of people on that.
Yeah.
And so I'll get into that warning here in a second. By the way, News Talk STL, we've got, check out our social media. I know a lot of people are watching us, on Rumble and Mike Ferguson in the morning on YouTube, but we're not watching it on News Talk STL because we've been thrown off YouTube again there. But Facebook and X and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. By the way, if you're watching our live stream right now, please hit the like button for this particular post.
Ding, ding. Hit
Please,
that thumbs up.
Yeah, hit the thumbs up thing. That actually helps us reach more people and amplify your voice as well. So please do that. Okay, so here's what I found, and you can find this article at newsmax.com right now. Biden administration is inviting every governor to send somebody to be part of kind of a conference, a short notice conference regarding the safety of our water supply.
That's kind of a big deal.
It is. It's a very, very big deal. So in the letter, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, EPA Administrator Michael Regan announced the creation of something called a Water Sector Cybersecurity Task Force and invited every state's health and homeland security deputies to a meeting this week to talk about best practices to secure water systems. Now, they're not talking about the filters. They're not talking about the pipes. They're not talking about that sort of thing. They're talking about what they're calling disabling cyber attacks. And let me just have the quote here. Disabling cyber attacks are striking water and wastewater systems throughout the United States. Present tense. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay.
Remember, there was one in Tampa.
Yes.
A couple years ago, maybe? I'm not sure if it was that long ago.
Well, get this. Sullivan and Regan outlined two recent and ongoing threats, and I'm reading from the article right now. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has, they're quoting, targeted and disabled a common type of operational technology used at water facilities where the facility had neglected to change a default manufacturer password. And then they also point out a China-sponsored group called Volt Typhoon has, in their words, compromised information technology of multiple critical infrastructure systems, including drinking water, in the United States and its territories. So they are saying China has already infiltrated some of our utility and water systems right now.
They've already done this.
They've already infiltrated.
This has happened and is an ongoing threat.
Yes, it's an ongoing threat. So they haven't shut that down. But remember, hackers shut down the Colonial Pipeline, which in a grid sense is more basic than an electrical system, but not that much different than a water system when you look at distribution.
Right.
So what we have right now is basically the federal government saying out loud that our enemies, Iran,
foreign actors,
and Iran has a lot of extra money right now because we just sent them a bunch.
And they may very well have come across the southern border unmolested.
China.
Same.
Don't rule out Russia. Don't rule out these countries that really hate us, that they don't have to come across the southern border at some point to cause mass chaos.
Yeah, they could do this electronically.
All of your utilities, including water, these things are digitally run. They are run in the cloud. It's not the old-fashioned days where some guy goes out and cranks the wheel thing to open up the water and somebody cranks it's all run digitally and remotely.
Motorized valves and all that.
I actually, at one point, one of my first elective offices I was in was on a water utility board of directors. So I actually have a little bit of experience with utilities. Not a huge amount, but a little bit of utility experience.
Just enough to be dangerous.
Just enough to ask stupid questions. So here's what it means to me. I mean, we could talk about Iran and China, and we could go all crazy about the Biden administration falling down the job. I don't think they are on this.
Right.
But I think this is probably every president's going to deal with. At some point, there's going to be an attack, but it will be digital. And if they go after the water supply or the electricity, are you ready to keep your family safe?
Right. That's really the key thing. Because the thing is, there's only so much you can do as an individual to keep these things from happening, which is pretty much nothing. But you can be ready for it.
Well, how do you be ready for it? What do you do?
You need a water supply that you can rely on,
and at least a water filter.
At least a water filter,
not just your Brita thing.
Yes.
You need one of those. Like you go onto one of those camping or preparedness sites.
Yes.
And you get the ones that can basically take out, toxins, impurities. So basically, whether it's rainwater or whether you're just storing water in those stairs, so some people go crazy with this stuff, but this is actually a very real threat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in addition to the water, you need food that's stored, and you need, I need maybe some other survival equipment.
Yeah. You know what? I think by the end of this, I want to do another segment where we're talking about what are you going to do to be prepared.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
I think we need to.
We need to do that. Okay. So what are your suggestions for being prepared? I don't know, Thursday or Friday, maybe Friday.
Yeah.
Email me, Mike@newstalkstl.com. Can they email you?
Yeah, please.
Gabe@newstalkstl.com.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing, or what should we do to be prepared? And let's compile those on Friday. Let's talk about that as well.
All right.
I'm going to put this Newsmax article up on the Rumble chat box right now so people can check that out. All right, just ahead here, let's talk big picture again. A U.S. Supreme Court justice really has concerns about the Constitution.
This is real. This is real.
Just going to leave it at that.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Congratulations to everyone at Connor Roofing. We chose the Connor Roofing team for our National Best of the Best award for customer satisfaction without telling anyone at Connor Roofing, based on over 30 years of fantastic customer reviews. Rob and Kathy Connor and their team deliver very high-quality roofing, siding, gutters, storm damage restoration at a fair price with integrity. Connor Roofing has had an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau for years. Count on Connor. For an estimate, please visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Are you one of the gym rats? You like to go to the gym and really work up a good sweat, build muscles, and take good care of yourself. That's a good idea. Are you aware of what's happening with Planet Fitness? Do you use them or thinking about it? Well, then you should know what Planet Fitness did in a recent statement to members and staff. Women must share bathrooms with transgender men. And staff and those at the gym must, at the same time, refer to the transgender men by whatever pronoun they want. Staff members will be fired if they don't, and if you're a member of the gym, they'll just simply revoke your membership. They're saying, we want to be able to work with everyone, include everyone. No, you don't. You're bowing down to the woke crowd. And by the way, there are those who've already said, that's it, I was going to join, but I'm not going to now. So now, how is this working out for Planet Fitness? Well, how's it working out? Yeah, you saw what I did, right? Yeah, that's what I did. How's it working out? Here's how it's working out. Planet Fitness stock dropped 8% right after that announcement. Somebody's got some splaining to do.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-2333. 8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. It's time for spring cleaning, and there's no one that can help you with that more than the team at Zero Res, especially with this great offer. Book a cleaning in March, mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119. Plus, you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning and 20% off your upholstery, which is a service we've used many times. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This one goes out to the one I love.
All right. Big picture stuff here again. We're doing that a lot here today. I mean, there are the immediate news things where we talk about good, bad, what happens, how do we react to it. And that's really important. But I think sometimes you got to look at what's happening and step back and go, whoa. What's the bigger implications for a free society, for a republic, for the fact that we want to be a nation based on free markets and individual liberties?
Right.
Because there are a lot bigger pictures than that. And in the United States, we've got our Constitution, imperfect, sure. I wish a couple things were written in a more clear way. I think we've added a couple things that should not have been added to it. But it's unique in world history.
Yes.
Because it emphasizes the individual liberty and sovereignty. And I know that there's a liberal right out there. There's a leftist like slavery. Yes, we're also the only country that fought a civil war in large part over that.
Yeah, and went around the world dismantling various slave systems that we encountered. Yes.
Right. So, but the Constitution is unique and it's important. So let's talk about what makes it unique and important and what happens when those in the highest levels of power oppose it.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm about to talk about Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
This is crazy.
You know, questioning and worrying that the First Amendment is a hamstring on government. You already know this. This happened on Monday.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
And so that part's not news. But I'm going to play her entire question.
Okay.
Not just a little clip, but I'm going to play the whole question here in a couple minutes. And then there's a much bigger picture involved. Okay. Now, first of all, the immediate picture is this person is not qualified to be on the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
which you're about to hear. Bilbo on Rumble. This is, he just out of nowhere, he just put up there, Ketanji Brown Jackson's mind reminds me of a hamster on a wheel because circular logic.
There you go.
That may be one of the best comments I've ever seen on our Rumble chat box right there. By the way, Flashback Friday coming up on, Friday. And if you've got some 80s bump music that you want to hear, you want us to put in, email Stel, STEL at newstalkstl.com. You can also give us your suggestions in the Facebook comments. You can tweet them or X them, whatever it's called now. And you can also put them in the Facebook comments or on the Rumble chat box. And then we'll try to get in as many of those as we can. I think we're at the point now still where we get more requests than we have bump music opportunities, but get them in. And I think like the earlier somebody gets them in, the more you get a chance to kind of chew on it and decide whether it goes or not.
Yeah, I would agree. And a sample would be REM's The One I Love that we just played right there. That's mid-'80s. And that would fit right in. So feel free to let us know.
I forgot that they were actually 80s because I think of REM because
it's
they had kind of a resurgence in the 90s when I was in college. And I forgot that was an 80s group as well.
I looked it up, and it's 87
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's right. I was when you played that, I'm thinking, oh yeah, my college years. I'm like, oh no, that was high school. Yeah, which 87, I was in high school. So, all right, okay. So while the what's called Murphy versus Missouri, what people sometimes refer to as Missouri versus Biden, but Murphy versus Missouri, this is the one that has to do with the Biden administration pressuring, coercing, working with social media to say, censor that, suppress that, highlight this on social media platforms and big tech platforms. Now, you've got everything from Hunter Biden's laptop, but mostly what we were talking about was the COVID era fear-mongering, lockdowns, shutdowns, misinformation campaigns, all of that sort of thing, where the Biden administration and the hard left in general, including the mainstream media, went full-on authoritarianism.
Yes.
And I hope that people are reflecting back. Matter of fact, in the 8 o'clock hour, let's reflect back on some of the crazy stuff that they actually sold people on.
Absolutely.
And understand how much we didn't just flirt with authoritarianism in this country. We had a fling with it.
Sure did.
We had a one-night stand with it, and everybody was probably wearing their masks. And if that sounds really awkward to picture in your mind, it should.
And you got monkeypox from it.
That's a super spreader event.
That's a super spreader event.
Okay, so you probably already heard about this. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is worried that the Constitution limits government, and apparently she thinks that the Supreme Court and the government should make laws to regulate the Constitution.
It's just the idea of it. She's like, I'm worried that the Constitution limits government. It's like, that's what it's supposed to do.
Right. Okay. Now we're hearing that, like Dan Bongino was talking about this yesterday, and that's he's right. And what you just said is exactly what Dan was saying as well.
That's how it was built.
Right. Here is her actual question as the arguments were being made to the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's a little bit longer of a clip. It's like a minute long.
But you kind of have
to
hear
I want to put it all in context so that I'm not just taking one thing out of a clip in order to score my conservative points. This is her entire question.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. I mean, what would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its own speech, but in my hypothetical, kids, this is not safe, don't do it, is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country, and you seem to be suggesting that that duty cannot manifest itself in the government encouraging or even pressuring platforms to take down harmful information. So can you help me? Because I'm really worried about that, because you've got the First Amendment operating in an environment of threatening circumstances from the government's perspective, and you're saying that the government can't interact with the source of those problems.
I don't give a rip what the government's perspective is on this. Now, a couple of things on this right here is, first and foremost, when we're at our worst moments in history, when we've got the biggest threats, when we are scared, that's the time that we need to secure our liberties more than any other, and we have to secure them against an overreaching government.
Absolutely. Every time there's an emergency, the government say, hey, it's an emergency, so let's suspend your rights. Well, that encourages the government to create emergencies.
There is no unless we're scared clause carve out to the U.S. Constitution.
It's kind of amazing. It really is.
And, and if there is, then who decides when things are that bad, which is what she's arguing. It's like, but if things are bad, we need to be able to violate the Constitution.
I'm listening to those comments, and my mind goes back to the Soviet Union, to Pravda, which many folks may not remember. Pravda, that was the arm of the government that reached into every single area of news and magazines, etc. You have a newspaper, which I think may still be published over there, called Pravda, which means truth, and it's actually the opposite of it, pretty much throughout the entire years of the Soviet Union before 1989. And I saw an interview yesterday with Elon Musk. It was with, believe it or not, Don Lemon.
Oh, I remember
and,
that.
You know, Don,
that was a train wreck, by the way.
He's huge on X, right? No, he's not.
And Mr. Lemon was trying to corner Elon on this issue of freedom and censorship. And Elon's comment was, you know what? Moderation is propaganda for censorship.
Ooh.
Moderation is propaganda for censorship. Right. And I thought, Elon, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Called it. Yeah, Don Lemon trying to match wits with Elon Musk, is that. By the way, I think my wife has a Pravda handbag.
Oh no!
Oh, that's not
them.
Okay,
that's not the same thing.
Okay, never mind. All right. Okay, but first of all, it's easy. There's a lot of conservative media just pointing out that Ketanji Brown Jackson, just especially by elite legal mind status, doesn't seem to be all that bright.
No,
okay.
She reminds me of a lot of the left wing administrators and school people that you see on Libs of TikTok.
Yeah,
actually.
But here's the thing: is that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm worried about. Okay, what I'm worried about is that this is reflective of how so many in our country, yes, mostly on the left, but don't think for a minute that the big government authoritarian right, and we have a big government problem on the right brewing right now, I've been warning about it for over a year, are people who look at the Constitution as something temporary, look at it as something flexible, look at it as something malleable, or worse yet, look at it as something that just simply needs to be discarded if we have an emergency. And this isn't new. Abraham Lincoln discarded the Constitution to jail newspaper writers that he didn't like.
Yep.
Abraham Lincoln was willing to throw out the Constitution, and he was 100% wrong about that. Okay. Obviously, FDR threw out the Constitution. And you can, in times of crisis, is when politicians try to grab authoritarian powers the Constitution is set up to protect us from.
Yeah,
that's why we can't throw out the Constitution.
It's a natural impulse, and I think maybe that's one of the things that we keep forgetting. One of the presuppositions of the constitutional limitation on government power is the idea that humans want to get more power for themselves. Right. That it's a natural inclination. You almost can't fight it. So what the Constitution, what the framers said was like, instead of us trying to fight the natural inclinations simply for out of the goodness of men's hearts, we're going to set up a system of adversarial powers so that they're struggling against one another, and in the push and pull, we somehow manage to keep our eye on individual liberties, with the Constitution as a bulwark, a sort of standard around which the rest of us are kind of orbiting.
Right, and there's also part of this that falls on us, though.
Yeah.
Okay, is that we have become so weak, especially, and you know what, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but men.
Yes.
We have become so weak.
Yes.
We have eschewed so much masculinity, and I'm talking about traditional masculinity, that when something happens that even could be a crisis or could be something dangerous, what we do at this point is we look to government and say, protect me, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And then when somebody says, no, I'll take care of myself, you're selfish, you're a problem, whatever you want to fill in there. And so this wouldn't be happening at the highest levels of government as easily if we, meaning collectively society, not News Talk Nation that's listening, but we collectively weren't so eager to hand over our rights, freedoms, and responsibilities to government, which has an inclination, like you just said, Gabe, of becoming authoritarians, because that's what organizations do, is they want to grow. That's the human nature.
The trading of liberty for safety, or the appearance of safety, or the promise of safety has always been a problem. And I think we've gotten so far off track as a people. We're not the rough and tumble Americans, the cowboy nation that we were ages ago. I was watching recently some old TV, like black and white TV, and I was like, man, those were some dudes back in the day. Yeah, that's right, man. They were some dudes, and you did not mess with them. Excuse me, sir, we're going to step outside now because you did X, Y, and Z. Right. It's like, yeah, that's going to happen now, and everybody's going to watch, and when it's over, it's over.
I remember the John Wayne movie where the kid's like, I don't know how to swim. How old are you? Whatever old.
Oh,
I don't know how to swim. He picks him up and throws his ass in the pond.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, what are you doing? Well, he's going to learn to swim.
Yeah,
you know?
and he came back on shore. He's like, now you know.
Okay, so just ahead here, because I know we need to get to an information segment, Vicky on Rumble just said, okay, how do we stop the government without being thrown into the gulags? Okay, let's talk about that.
That's a good question.
It is a great question. That is the key question. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that right around, what do you think, 7:52 here still, I think?
Sure, that'll work.
7:52 here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
This one goes out to the one I love.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
This one goes out to the one I've left behind.
Do you have a house that you've been thinking about selling, but maybe it needs a lot of work and you want to sell it in as-is condition? 314-417-1000. My name's Chad with Clayman Real Estate, where we've had a family business for over 90 years, and we buy houses direct from the seller with no middleman involved. 314-417-1000. We recently just bought a house from a nice person who had been in her house for over 30 years. Quite frankly, she wasn't excited about letting a bunch of people in the house, and she wasn't as proud of the house as she once was, and she was ready to sell. We came in and we made her an as-is offer with no repairs and no agency involved. It was just a one-time walkthrough. If you're in that situation and you have a house that you're thinking about selling in as-is condition and want a simple solution, reach out. 314-417-1000. 314-417-1000. Reach out to Clayman Real Estate today, and we will provide you with an as-is, simple solution to your real estate issue.
Hello, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, your diamonds are so fantastic at Newsteaders. You named the website after them, wowdiamonds.com. Tell us about Wow Diamonds.
Well, we picked that name because when people look at the diamonds, they all exclaim the same thing. Everybody says, wow. And nobody can spell Newsteaders, so we figured Wow Diamonds would definitely be a good tagline, and it's very accurate. We actually introduced the lab-grown diamond to our St. Louis family, and we're the exclusive home of the trademark Wow Diamond. It's the most perfectly cut and polished diamond you'll ever experience, and we can fit one into anyone's budget. The thing that's nice about them is they're significantly less expensive than a mined diamond, and of course the artwork is in the cutting and polishing. That's where you get the beauty in the diamond, and that's what we excel at.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders Fine Jewelers.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is the show that starts my morning every day. Mike, Gabe, Stell, plus don't forget my program, Larry Connors USA, 6 to 8 p.m.
Larry's the best, man.
He is a master at his craft.
All right, coming up on 7:53. By the way, at 8:05, we mentioned earlier that the St. Louis County Council has passed the property tax freeze for seniors. They passed it. It's the law, but it's not being implemented.
There's the
Talk
problem.
about why that. So basically, if you're a senior, you're 67 years old or over, and you're saying, I'm really looking forward to not having my bills go up every year because government wants more money.
And you promised it to me
and
through the law.
Yeah, and it was promised. And you want to find out why is this not going to happen. Councilman Mark Harder is going to join us at 8:05 and explain what's going on. I have my theory. I don't want to give it away. I'll just say that it's has a lot to do with Sam Page. That's what I think.
I think.
All right. Okay, so here's what we're just talking about is we played that clip of Ketanji Brown Jackson saying, I'm really worried that the First Amendment is going to hamstring the government.
Yeah.
That's precisely what the Bill of Rights is designed to do. It's the whole point. I mean, she says it's like you hamstring the government like it's a bad thing.
Right.
It's a good thing.
Are you understanding this? It's like I'm afraid applying the brakes on my car would slow it down.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
that's what it's for.
Yes,
because the founders of the country knew that government by nature grows and intrudes and becomes authoritarian,
and that necessarily shrinks the freedom of individuals.
Correct. This is not a zero-sum game.
Well, it is.
It is a zero-sum game. Yeah,
yes.
Because as Reagan said, as government expands, liberty contracts.
Right.
So where we've got here is, I pointed out the much bigger mindset, and Ketanji Brown Jackson is the symptom. She's the result. This is what's being taught in law schools.
Oh gosh, yes.
This is what's being taught in social studies programs.
Undergrad school.
Yeah,
yes,
everywhere.
Clearly, everywhere.
This is what's being taught, is that the Constitution is antiquated, it's outdated. You attack the men who wrote it because they're white, they were slaveholding, they were heterosexual, they were Christian, whatever the case is. And I'm actually not making that up. They actually attack them.
That's how it's taught. Yes.
The purpose of it, though, was specifically to limit government. So Illinois, for instance, is fighting for their Second Amendment rights because the state government has taken it away. And government authoritarians say, well, we got to find a way to work around that Second Amendment because that limits our ability. You're damn right it limits it. It's supposed to limit it.
Yes, that's how it works.
It's supposed to stop you from doing it. So on Rumble, Vicky says, okay, well, how do we fight back against the government without getting tossed in to the
gulag?
To the gulags. Okay, great question. I don't know the full answer to it, but first and foremost, be self-reliant.
That's a good start.
That's a good start. Secondly, you cannot separate politics from this. You cannot separate electoral politics from this at all. And that's why here later on in the 8 o'clock hour, when we talk about all the things that people agreed to do to give up liberty and frankly be stupid, we can't allow that culturally ever to happen, because the electoral politics and the infringements on our liberties and our constitutionally guaranteed rights, those don't happen in a vacuum. They happen mostly when the people say, do something, government.
Save us.
Yes. So first and foremost, we have to make sure that we're on a very heart-to-heart basis, winning over people to understand that we are the solution to protect ourselves. And we've got to change hearts on that. I had a friend of mine, the late Michael Badnarik, that disagreed with him on a lot of stuff. Definitely a freedom fighter in every way. At one point, he was a Libertarian presidential nominee. And he had a phrase that said, lighting the fires of liberty one heart at a time. And I think that's a great phrase that Michael came up with. And Michael died a few years ago. And that's one way to do it. Secondly, we have to vet our candidates in an exceptional ways. And thirdly, we must be bold fighting back against. And also, yes, we need to risk civil disobedience.
Yeah.
We need to risk when these authoritarian laws happen. We need to risk it, and we need to be bold about it. When Sam Page tries to lock us down again and he puts it out on Twitter, you retweet it and say, I'm not obeying you, Sam. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. They can't put all of us in the gulag.
No. They may get some of us, but they're not going to get all of us. Who's brave enough to say, I stand for liberty?
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC. SIPC.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Congress has heard from a couple of generals who oversaw the deadly debacle that was the Biden withdrawal from Afghanistan. Retired General Frank McKenzie, former U.S. Central Command chief, says the State Department waited too long to order an evacuation of American civilians from Kabul.
It was my opinion then and my opinion now that that particular decision was the fatal flaw that created what happened in August.
The military men also say the Biden team ignored recommendations that 2,500 U.S. troops remain on the ground to maintain order. The evacuation descended into chaos, ultimately leading to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American service members. Republican U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno of Ohio says he wears his Trump endorsement as a badge of honor.
Under President Trump, this nation was safer. It was more secure. We had prosperity around the world. We had generationally low interest rates, and we had generationally low inflation.
Moreno, at last night's victory rally aired by WSYX, WTTE, he trounced his two GOP challengers in the primary. He'll be facing Democrat incumbent Sherrod Brown in November. A former Trump White House advisor has reported to prison.
Former trade advisor Peter Navarro has begun serving his 4-month prison sentence for refusing to cooperate with the House January 6th committee. He was found guilty of contempt of Congress charges. Navarro was defiant in remarks to reporters before he headed to the federal prison in Miami, calling his conviction the partisan weaponization of the judicial system. Navarro is the first senior Trump administration official to serve prison time related to the Capitol riot. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Stock futures mixed on Wall Street ahead of this morning's opening bell. Right now, the Dow futures are down 58 points, while the NASDAQ futures are 25 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards concert tickets for your daughter to see that singer who sings about painful breakups. And one song will inspire your little beauty to break up with that beast she's dating, Brian. Instead, she'll date someone who's nice and worthy of her love, not someone who addresses you and your spouse as bro. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at ReliefFactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Got home the other day and my next door neighbors are putting a new roof on their house and I went, oh, yep, here we are. We're in spring. That means it's time for a lot of people to upgrade their homes. My wife's already talking about a few projects she wants to get done this year, and it just reminds me, so many people forget to include your windows and upgrading your windows when it comes to those home improvement projects, but that is crucial. Hear me out here. Mike Ferguson for my friends at Window World. They are simply the best for less. You can call them at 314-993-1800. Okay, so we've had a bunch of home improvement projects at our house over the last year or two. Stell and Gabe, you've been at my house. You've seen all of those. But so many things when it comes to the performance of your home rely on the basics. And your windows are something you just generally don't think about until something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong is like when it's really cold and you walk by the windows and you feel that breeze and you feel that draft coming through and you're thinking, oh no, now it's going to cost more to heat the house. That's true. That's why you need to call Window World at 314-993-1800. As a matter of fact, there are new standards when it comes to the Energy Star program. We're on Energy Star 7 now. That was put in place late last year, but Window World windows are already beyond that. That's how efficient these windows are. They aren't just compliant with Energy Star, which, by the way, gives you a break. A lot of times you can, get some insurance breaks and all sorts of things. Ask them about that. But Window World, the bottom line is that their windows make your home more energy efficient. They're double strength glass, so that even if there's the bad storm, we saw that hail that came through the area just last week, and there are people all over the area who are looking for new windows right now because hail knocked them out, in addition to their windshields and their roofing and all that sort of thing. Well, if that happens to you, first of all, Window World windows are going to withstand that. And if for some reason they don't, in case it's a bowling ball-sized hail that hits you, they're going to replace the windows for free because they have a lifetime warranty. So you're going to save money up front because they're less expensive. You're going to save money throughout the life of your home because your home's going to be more energy efficient, and they're custom cut for your home. And you're going to save money down the road because you never have to replace them again. That's a great investment. That is a great way to improve your home. That's a home improvement project. Give them a call today. Get your free in-home estimate. 314-993-1800. Once again, 314-993-1800. Let them show you what you can do for them and why they are simply the best for less.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
One of the ways our system works at all different levels of government is the people who are elected to make the laws, and then those who are elected to administer the laws, administer the laws. So what happens when there's a breakdown in the middle? Well, in St. Louis County, what's happening is that people who, by law, should be getting some relief on their property taxes are not getting it and are not going to get it for the foreseeable future, even though the elected body passed the ordinance, passed the law to make that happen. So what in the world is happening with that? All right. It's 8:07 right now. I'm Mike. That's Stell. That's Gabe. By the way, right around 8:35, we talked about, the authoritarianism of government and what happens when we don't put government in check, what happens when we get scared and we don't push back and we don't question them. Gabe has found a series of reminders of what authoritarians scared many people into. And at 8:35, let's do a little review of that to make sure that we just keep in mind what happened before, because we're right around, as you pointed out, the 4-year anniversary of 10 or 15 days?
15 days to slow the
15
spread.
days to slow the spread. That was 4 years ago?
That was 4 years ago.
There was actually a survey that I read about last night that of those who self-identify as far left, there's a remarkable percentage who still think we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, yes.
Still.
Remarkable.
think that. And these are the people still begging for authoritarianism. But 8:35, let's have that conversation. What was the worst thing you remember? Send me a message on that. That's what I want to know. All right, joined now by St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder. Mark, I know you guys had a meeting last night. I want to kind of clear up where things stand with the senior property tax freeze. Now, first of all, just to remind everybody, what this means is that if you meet the criteria, age, and your house valuation and all that sort of thing, you don't stop paying property taxes. You just say that whatever your bill is at this point, that's what it remains from here on out. And you all passed the law, and for some reason, this law has not been implemented. And as I understand it, there was a proposal to say, fine, if the administration's not going to do it, then we'll come up with a budget for it. And then that was voted down last night. This sounds really confusing. You all passed the law. That should be the beginning and the end of your part of the process, shouldn't it?
Well, good morning, guys. Yes, you're right. We did pass the law the end of last year, and it is to put this senior tax freeze into motion in St. Louis County. As you know, it was a piece of legislation that came down from the state, and though it was somewhat flawed, we used what we were supposed to use and decided how to put it into law, which we did. So for St. Louis County, we do have it in place. Now, the next step was, okay, how do we fund this? This is a function that had not been done by our revenue department and collectors area. And so now you've got to figure out a budget on how we're going to handle roughly about 40,000 possible applicants for this in St. Louis County. And being the largest county in the state and have probably the largest population of seniors that would qualify, it is a very large number. So Councilman Hancock and I met with the Revenue Department on 2 occasions to go over what it would cost to get this thing implemented and what tools they need. So that's where we are right now. We've sat down with them. They told us they would need about $1.6 million in money, extra money that they don't have, and we haven't budgeted for them going forward. And this is the first we found out that we would need that much. Then we drilled down, and they're saying that they would need to hire between 25 and 28 people to administer this, and software and such to go with it. And we had already cut their budget last year to help balance the budget, and so they couldn't even hire the people that we even cut their positions. So they're screaming foul, and so we're at kind of not a deadlock, but we're at an impasse here a little bit when it comes to what is the real budget, what's it going to cost, and we're almost halfway through the year. So last night, Councilman Tracus put together a bill. Originally, it was for $1.6 million, and then he reduced it to about $1.2 million, $1.3 million for what it would cost to put this together. We really don't know, and I am very suspect of that high number. That's not the right number to put this together for only 6 months left of the year. So that got voted down. We're going to bring it back up probably next week with a new number to decide what we want to do to fund this program.
Okay, Mark, you're a nicer person than I am. You're more diplomatic than I am on this. Let me just say that account that you just gave of the conversations from the revenue folks and the tax collecting folks, everything you were describing that they told to you, my BS detector is going off in a huge way.
My gosh.
We're not inventing a new tax code. It's saying that some people apply or some people qualify to not, simply there's a change for some people. 28 people to be hired to implement this, $1 million plus. That doesn't make any sense on the surface to me. What the hell are they talking about?
And that's why I voted against this. And I was against the number. I don't believe that number. I'd be hard to believe even half that number. What they're saying is that because of the complexity of this, that as some people, and they're going to try to do it electronically and force people, which is good, I think, but to get people to fill out their application electronically, but those still have to be reviewed, and there's rules that have to be reviewed to make sure that they qualify. And one of the things that we found in St. Charles when they opened up their application process is one of the requirements that we would have as well is that the applicant has to produce a copy of their deed for their home. And so what that involves then is a two-step process. Most people don't have their deed sitting around their home. It's usually held by the county. So you would have to apply for your deed and either get copies of it in person or have it electronically sent to you, pay your fee for the copy so that you can file for this tax credit. So what they found in St. Charles is that their system melted down the first couple of days because you had about 6,000 people that are now filing for their deeds so that they can file for their tax credit. So that's what we're trying to avoid in St. Louis County. And, St. Charles has less seniors than we do, and we just don't want the system to melt down. So with that said, do we need 28 people? I don't think so. I think we could probably do it with at least half of that or maybe less, especially if most people file electronically, so we're not handling so much paper back and forth. So we're just trying to find out where the truth is. The software is negligible from a government standpoint. It's about $50,000 for the software. So things like that, we've got to drill down here. And I think what's really happening here is that we cut the Revenue Department's budget last year in trying to manage our budget deficit. The Page administration wants that money basically reinstated for different hires, and we're just not going to, we're not playing that game. Yeah. So it's kind of at this stalemate right now, but we'll get through it.
Now, you mentioned earlier there were some discussions prior to the bill being passed about what it would take to actually implement this, and it sounds like the $1 million number kind of came out of nowhere. Was there no budget proposal prior to that? That's kind of a heads up. Here's what this would cost.
No, there wasn't. And when we were in discussions after we got the bill from the state, and we were in the process of implementing the legislation last year, you have to understand the dynamics here. Everybody was against this. The school districts were against it. The governments were against this. The only people that were for this was myself and Councilman Hancock and the seniors of St. Louis County. And so we had a lot of negative Nellies, so to speak, that were trying to find ways to shoot this down, say it was too expensive, we lose too much money. You name it, every excuse was used to fight this implementation. So nobody came up with a budget. Nobody decided to go to extra effort to say it's going to cost X to basically fund this mandate. They didn't want to go there, and but the bill still passed, and now we're at this point of how much it's going to cost to implement this tax freeze. So we'll get through it. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and we may have to delay it slightly so that these things can be up and running. What I don't want to happen is for us to rush it, not have the people that are necessary to make this happen, or not have the software, and then open the floodgates on a certain date, and then everybody melts down the system. And then everybody's screaming, why didn't I get my tax freeze? So let's do it right the first time so we don't have to do it right the second or third time.
So it sounds like basically the political establishment is really dragging its feet on this, because now you've got 2024. This isn't being implemented, which means that seniors who qualify aren't getting this tax freeze this year. Best case scenario looks like maybe next year when you passed the actual law in 2023.
We have not determined which is going to be the base year. I'm still hopeful that we can get this done this year so that it can be used and applied next year. Next year, this year, 2024 is a shoulder year. We have reassessments every 2 years. So right now, this year, we had reassessment last year. Whatever rate that was set goes into effect 2024, 2025, you start talking about the next reassessment year in the end of that. So you go, in that cycle. And usually, if the tax doesn't change many times in that shoulder period of time, if you paid $4,000 in tax, you'll probably pay $4,000 in tax in that shoulder time. It's the reassessment year is when everybody gets the bills and they go, "How did this happen?" and start screaming about that. So we hope to get this done sooner than later. Again, it comes down to money. Government uses money, sometimes wastes money to make these programs come together. But we're gonna try to do it right from the start and not have to do it 2 and 3 times in the future.
All right, Councilman Mark Harder, St. Louis County government. Hey, appreciate you being on the show, especially on short notice. People don't realize I just texted him this morning as though people are waiting in the middle of the night to hear whether or not a radio show wants him on. But I appreciate you coming on just really short notice, because when I saw this, it just screamed bureaucracy causing stumbling blocks, and I wanted to get the full story on this. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, and there's some of that as we've talked about, but we're going to push through this and find out what the real number is. I'd like to use Rams money instead of just reinstating the tax to their budget or funding to their current budget. Mm-hmm. Just use some outside money to get this going. The first year, I believe the first year will be the most expensive because of startup costs, and then future years it should be a little cheaper to manage as we move through this. But people will have to apply for this every year, so we'll have to go through this exercise, and we got to get it right the first time.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Okay. Going to dump some news on you right around 8:22 here, and then 8:35. Let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we were just talking about the dangers when authoritarians win over the public. That happened 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That happened 3 years ago. They were still trying to hold on to that 2 years ago. So let's go down the memory hole here and remind ourselves of why it's crucial to push back and stand up and be bold. Let's do that at 8:35.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up. Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin God. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Spring into green with Seidenberger Nobe Partners. Accelerate your productivity with one of our John Deere compact tractors. Right now, take advantage of 0% financing for 84 months with zero down, featuring payments as low as $210 a month. From landscapes to farming, these compact tractors can handle a variety of tasks. Seidenberger Nobe, your partner for the land. snpartners.com.
Offer valid through 4/26/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Larry Connors, USA.
Hunter Biden and his artwork.
Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words. What a coward.
The art gallerist apparently claimed that one of Hunter's financial backers purchased most of his paintings for $875,000. What's this? Oh, it's a scribble, but really it's a man walking into his future and seeing his past at the same time.
You're the epitome of white privilege.
They were laundering money, and he had all of his friends coming forward to help him out.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arp from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
The courts giveth and the courts taketh away. The bottom line is the Biden administration and illegal immigrants had a really good day yesterday.
They sure did.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Illinois voters make their primary election decisions, and some friends of this radio station did very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
The Blues need to start another winning streak.
Yeah, please.
Oh, all right. 8:24 right now. Got Gabe here. Got
Poor guys.
Stell here. All right. The Supreme Court allows a Texas border enforcement law to take effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good news.
Yeah.
You probably saw that in your news feeds.
Like, sure, you could do that.
You know, the Supreme Court ruling allows Texas to start arresting illegal immigrants. And you went, yay! But they really ruled that the case be sent back to a federal court. But the Supreme Court actually said the law can go into effect.
In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court said the law can be enforced while a legal battle over immigration policy plays out. The Texas law allows state officials to arrest and detain people they suspect of entering the country illegally. The Biden administration is suing to strike down the measure, arguing it's a clear violation of federal authority. But Texas has said it has a right to take action in response to an ongoing crisis at the southern border. Greg Clugston, Washington.
But then again, just hours after the Supreme Court ruling, which did not rule on the law itself,
Right.
it just said it has to go back to the appellate court ruling, and it lifted the hold on it and said, this is the federal court's part of the process right now. That Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals put the law back on hold.
No.
So Texas is still prevented from enforcing it. So we went from yay to in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
The case will likely end up back before the Supreme Court.
I hate all the legalese bullcrap. It really messes with your brain sometimes because it's like, no, we're not ruling on the merits. We're ruling on the process and the process of and the thing and then the appeals and gosh, just tell me what to do.
I mean, I get up early this morning and I'm scrolling through my new, and of course, you know, the way that the feeds aggregate and stuff, you know, sometimes I'm seeing stuff from 6 hours ago.
Yeah, they're out of
sometimes
order time-wise, yeah.
And so I'm saying, court rules, Texas law can go into effect. Court puts a hold on Texas law, and I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here?
Seriously.
Well, that's what happened is both of those things actually happened.
Yeah, they're just different courts.
All right.
Time.
Congressman Mike Bost wins the Republican primary in Illinois' 12th district.
A little bit of a squeaker, though.
It was more of a squeaker than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. We knew that Darren Bailey was running a very, very well-heeled campaign. I mean, he was running. He knows how to campaign. This is, and Darren Bailey is, has been a conservative, state senator, and, he gave a challenge to J.B. Pritzker. I'm not bashing Darren Bailey at all, but the fact of the matter is Republicans were given a choice between two Republicans, two pretty conservative guys. About 3,200 votes, to your point, Gabe, 3,200 votes out of over 92,000 decided that race between Mike Bost and former state senator Darren Bailey.
Yeah, that's not many.
No.
Not many at all, especially given the turnouts for these type of elections, right? The ones that are in the not the November election every 4 years,
right?
Where that usually draws the biggest crowd. So
right.
Your vote counts. Get out and vote.
Yeah, the 12th district is heavily Republican, so Bost is very likely to win re-election in November, and he's up against Mr. or Ms. Irrelevant. I don't even know who's going to be up against.
Mr. or Ms. Irrelevant.
It's not even going to matter, really.
Z Irrelevant.
So the Z or Zero.
Zero.
So this is one of those districts that's just really heavily Republican. So the primaries decided, and that was a hard-fought one. It was really a hard-fought. And the 12th district, of course, is the News Talk STL listening area on the Illinois side down. Basically down the western side of Illinois, down to the southern area.
Hey guys, love you.
Yep. All right. We're still working on that gun control law. We're still fighting against that with you here.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple sports things here.
Good news though, the illegals can carry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it.
I'm sorry.
We'll have to have that conversation because an Illinois judge actually ruled that illegal immigrants also have a Second Amendment right. And so I'm seeing an interesting, thought-provoking argument on that on social media. But the ruling, and I don't know the specifics of the case, but basically an illegal immigrant was arrested, had a weapon, and the illegal immigrant's lawyers were saying, hey, Second Amendment applies, constitutional rights apply to everybody in this country, whether you're here legally or illegally. And the judge said, yep, that sounds about right, and ruled that way. So that's what's going on with that.
Out of Illinois.
Out of Illinois. Places. So, individual citizens, they want you to put you on a registry and volunteer to become part of a list.
Oh, my gosh.
But illegals can have guns, just not you.
So wild.
All right. Cardinals went 1-1 on Tuesday, winning the early game against the Marlins 11-10. That sounds like an old man baseball score.
Yes, sure does.
In the afternoon game, the Mets got the win over the Redbirds 3-1. This afternoon, Cardinals play the Nationals. That's a 5:05 game. I cannot see anywhere where that's on TV or streaming anywhere, so it's just one of those. You got to go down to spring training one of these. I've got to do one of these days. I'm going to vacation down to spring training.
Oh, definitely.
And check that
and
out.
You're going to have to report back to us.
Yes, I will. All right, the Blues 4-game win streak comes to an end with a 4-3 loss to Colorado last night at Enterprise. Today, travel day for the Blues. They play again tomorrow in Ottawa. Right now, the Blues are 36-30-3 on the season. They've got 12 or 13. I counted earlier. I think it's 12, 13 games left in the season. So very likely they're going to finish at or above 500.
Yeah.
Playoffs are a little bit of a stretch right now.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the first full day of spring comes in very close to normal for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies, a high around 57, and a wind out of the north at about 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy and a bit on the chilly side tonight. We'll drop down to 33 in St. Louis. Some patchy frost here and there. Thursday's trending a little cooler, too. 50 for your high tomorrow. Can't rule out an isolated shower Thursday or Friday, but boy, the chances are looking very low. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Planet Fitness caves to the Rainbow Mafia and doubles down on the controversial decision to allow biological men in women's locker rooms. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
The Fed's new FedNow system is all about surveillance and control. Secure your assets today with something Washington cannot manipulate. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, and I recommend diversifying your retirement into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. Do this right now. Text SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free info kit from Birch Gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
Message and data rates may apply.
Feminist movement has failed women. Look no further than the gym chain Planet Fitness, who is in hot water for standing by their decision to welcome biological males identifying as females into the women's locker room. This controversy was ignited after a Planet Fitness member in Alaska snapped a photo of a biological man in the women's locker room. The biological man identified as queer LGB and was shaving in the women's locker room. But instead of kicking the biological male out of the locker room, Planet Fitness instead revoked the membership of the woman who snapped the photo, insisting she violated the policy against taking photos or videos in the locker room. The biological man did not face any repercussions, and instead, Planet Fitness put out a statement gushing over the gym's inclusive environment. Perhaps it's time to give Planet Fitness the Bud Light treatment. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Tim Jones here. The anniversary of last year's April 15th hailstorm rapidly approaching. Let my friends at Eureka Contracting and Roofing inspect your roof for storm damage prior to the one-year insurance deadline. They'll evaluate your damage to determine if the loss is insurable. If it is, they'll walk you through the entire insurance claim process just like they did for us. Your only out-of-pocket cost will be your deductible. Plus, having your roof inspected before the spring storm season will give you peace of mind before the next big storm hits. Call Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF, 636-938-ROOF, eurekacontracting.com.
Seavers JCB has amazing deals on JCB mini excavators ranging from 2 tons to 10 tons. It's your choice to take 5 on one of these great offers. 0% financing for 5 years or up to $5,500 cash rebate and a 5-year warranty. See terms and conditions for details, but don't wait too long. These offers are for a limited time at Seavers JCB. And check out their full line of industry-leading JCB equipment. Check them out online at SeaversJCB.com.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, EIFS, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
Traveling in a Friday Combi on a hippie trailhead full of zombies.
You know, I don't know what the exact, I hate to use the word anniversary of this.
Yeah.
Is, but what the exact date was 4 years ago. 2020 is when all the crap really, really started. When it was 10 days to slow the spread.
15
days to slow the spread. 15 days to slow the spread. And you're just supposed to lock down.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, in St. Louis County, and even in Missouri, Mike Parson actually did an executive order, a lockdown, a stay-at-home order. Sam Page tried to do a couple of them. None of them were constitutional.
No, not
or
at all.
legal. And even if the laws allowed it, we should have disobeyed them anyway. But nationally, you know, they were showing the hockey stick graphics. If we just all lock down and give up our rights and freedoms and don't go to work and don't go to school and don't talk to anybody in person and stay, you know, locked up in our homes out of fear of other human beings for 10 days, then this is all going to be over.
Yeah, it was basically, well, and here's the thing too. The original logic of it was that we didn't want a massive spike in infections and severe infections to overwhelm the medical system. That was the idea. So they were saying, okay, we got to be prepped for this big spike in infections because of how infectious this particular disease is, how tough it is to on the body and things like that. We got to keep our emergency rooms clear. We got to keep our medical personnel on call. So don't go and get your colonoscopy. Don't go in for your routine scans of X, Y, and Z. If you had an MRI or an X-ray appointment or something like that scheduled, you're gonna cancel those during this 10 to 15 days, and we're all just gonna stay home. It's gonna be fine. That will keep the curve flat, and we won't overwhelm the system.
Just 2 weeks. That's all it takes. Then everything goes back to normal. And we're fine.
Yeah, that was the original logic behind
because you had almost a 24/7 diet from the mainstream media on how scary this is. And I say mainstream media, you know what? There was conservative media doing it too.
We were included.
Yeah, there was conservative media who was actually doing this as well.
Now, not me personally, but
it was
we collectively.
The station we were at was, to some degree, there were some on that station.
Oh yeah,
and in that group that were doing that.
That's true.
It's true. Now, and I'm saying this as I was one of the original COVID patients in St. Louis.
Yeah,
which,
like severe
as in
disease.
I was in the ICU, so I know what COVID can do. So if anybody says, you don't understand, Mike, oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But that novel virus is long gone, and now it's a cold, basically. And even if the way it hit me is what it hit everybody else, I wouldn't have changed my position. I immediately came out of the hospital, and of course I had a bunch of media requests because a media guy, having that, they're like, oh, tell us all about it. And they said, so do you, they wanted me to support these lockdowns. And I went, no, we shouldn't. I think you should use common sense the way you would in any sort of, flu season or something. But no, and people stopped inviting me to be on the shows after I started giving those answers.
Oddly enough, yeah, we didn't hear
there was
that
about
sort of
a 2
testimony
week period.
for a while.
Yeah, there was about a 2 week period where I was being featured on TV around the state, and I was being called into being on a bunch of radio shows. And after a very short time in that week or so, I stopped getting those calls because that's the way I said. Even though I was still literally coughing and I lost like 20 pounds in the hospital. I mean, I was in the ICU with the ventilator next to me, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, so I had it bad. That doesn't really happen that much anymore. because the virus mutated so much. But all of that aside, let's go down memory lane because we were willing, collectively, not everybody, but we were willing to give up our freedom. And we looked to government, to the so-called experts who didn't know what they were talking about, who lied. And then even as the evidence showed them they were wrong, they doubled down anyway. And it became more about government control and suppression than it did about anything else. And the people who simply said, screw you, flip the middle bird, those were the people who went on living their lives and were just as fine as everybody else. What are some of the things people either got ordered into doing or scared into doing that we need to be reminded of when it comes to the oppression, the tyranny of the expert class, the tyranny of the bureaucrats, and the tyranny of government in crisis situations?
Well, this all got spurred by a thread by Drew Holden. He writes for the Free Beacon, New York Times, NRO, Fox News. We've Federalist even, we've probably interviewed him on the station. Yeah. Now, for the most part, his collection of headlines are all coming on the heels of us coming out of the pandemic. It's all the fear mongering that was like, oh no, you can't come out of the lockdowns. But before we get all of that, just I want everybody to remember the guidance that was coming out of the health departments, either from the federal level or the state level. It was wipe down your food. When you go to the grocery store, you pick everything up. Everything needs to be wiped down. They had every store got that little hand sanitizer station, with the liquid stuff as well as the little wipes, right? So you had to wipe.
I actually still do like those though.
Well, I do appreciate those.
That's true.
That's true.
There's some people out there just dirty.
They just nasty. Yeah. That's true. Hey, remember to wash your hands. Now that's good advice. That's good advice. That's fine. But hey, that social distancing thing? Remember social distancing was a thing? And all the stores got these little dots that they would put on the floor, or little pairs of feet. This is where you're supposed to stand to keep your distance. Oh, and we don't want people passing each other too closely down the aisle. Yeah. So follow these arrows and only go the direction of the arrows so that we can keep our social distancing. Turns out the Social Distancing Act was completely made up.
And they eventually said, well, we just that number sounded good, so they went with it. There was absolutely nothing.
There was no evidence behind it. Remember all the quarantine stuff? Tony Colombo, one of the reasons why he took his kids out of they moved and they took his kids out of Hazelwood was because every time somebody got diagnosed or they got tested and then they were in close contact with a friend or something like that, everybody had to quarantine for a certain period of time, and then you couldn't go. It doesn't matter if you didn't have any symptoms or anything like that, because they were telling us that asymptomatic people were the big major spreaders, and they were telling us that the certain incubation period was there. That was made up too. There was no indication that that all of those quarantines did anything to slow the spread. So all of it, all of that garbage that they kept feeding us was all nothing. Now, when we were trying to come out of this, we were waking up to all this, the craziness. Here are some of the headlines. Politico, in their law and order section. Yes, a national quarantine is constitutional and necessary.
It is not.
They were arguing that the hodgepodge of state responses to coronavirus is a threat to the country's health. It's time for the federal government to use its full powers. Yes, absolute power. The virus can be stopped, but only with harsh steps, experts say. Yes, so these are real headlines. I'm not making these up. These are real screenshots of things. The dangerous morality behind the Open It Up movement.
Wow.
The dangerous morality there.
But replace Open It Up movement with Return to Freedom movement.
Yeah.
I mean, replace Open It Up movement with Reclaiming Autonomy Over Our Lives movement. That's what we're talking about there.
They're playing Russian roulette as states reopen amid coronavirus experts warn of risks.
Guess what? We're playing Russian roulette whenever you get on the highway and drive to work.
It's so crazy what was being done. A bioethicist on why reopening states will kill more black people. Reopening was also racist. I don't think you guys remember that.
COVID virus was racist?
COVID virus is racist. Some people of color worry reopening rethreads nation's dark economic narrative.
Oh, for God's sake.
Per various analysis. These were real headlines. Trump calls COVID school closures a terrible decision as cases and deaths rise. Like these were how they were casting all of these ideas. The teachers union presidents, kids will be resilient with the lost education.
How'd that work out?
The kids will bounce back. No worries. The 30% loss in their education is no big deal. So this is what was going on back then. Should your kids go back to school? These studies suggest not. They harmed us. They harmed us in irreparable ways. They harmed not only the nation as a whole in kind of conditioning all kinds of people to just acquiesce to whatever the government wants to say, even if it's freaking arbitrary.
Right.
But also they harmed our children in particular. That's the one that really gets me. They harmed our kids. The kids were at the least risk of all. They were not little carriers of this particular disease, of all diseases, and they ruined their development. They ruined their education.
Right. And here's the thing is we now know, I mean, like, for instance, COVID is just a respiratory virus.
Yeah.
It's all this.
Like every other.
The novel one hit some people hard. It was within a very short amount of time that unless you had a serious comorbidity, it really wasn't particularly dangerous, because the numbers that we have with all those percentages and all this kind of stuff, those were only the people that we knew about.
Yeah, they tested.
Because they were even, they originally said, well, there's probably 2 or 3 times more that people who are asymptomatic, and that was supposed to scare us when in reality we should have sat back and went, wait a minute, you mean for most people this is nothing?
Right.
My daughter was in college when this happened. She played volleyball in her college, and they were locking them into their dorm rooms and sliding them food under the doors like criminals.
Oh my gosh!
You know,
my gosh!
And I will tell you that there are ways I don't think she's actually gotten through that yet.
Sure.
But what are some other things that we got scared, because we saw the videos of people screaming at other people because they weren't wearing a mask.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You had restaurants that were being micromanaged, putting these ridiculous partitions in front of things,
clear plastic barriers
the big plastic
everywhere.
things, because that was supposed to make us. I mean, there were people.
They had
walking,
to reduce their seating capacity, right? So you could sit at this table, but all the tables around you had to be clear.
Yeah, and they were only allowed like 25% of that. But if you were walking to and from the table, you were supposed to put a mask back on. All of these things not only did people actually do, but they bought into and believed, and as the evidence mounted to show that these people are full of crap
stuff. Yeah.
That they still said, well, I want to trust the experts. I want to trust the government. The CDC knows better than you. These are the experts. No, they're not.
Are you an epidemiologist?
Yeah, I heard that one a lot. These are politicians.
Yes.
They're
bureaucrats.
So they're bureaucrats. That's what they are. I mean, a bureaucrat's a politician who's not elected.
Yeah, I was going to say, bureaucats are actually worse than politicians.
Exactly. And so the fight became not whether or not these things are effective or not. It didn't become whether or not we're better safe than sorry. It became, how dare you question the authority?
Right.
And so
that turn was fast, too.
Exactly. And so at some point, people started saying, I'm not doing it anymore. I will not do it.
I will not comply.
I will not comply. And what do you know? It wasn't too long after that when people started saying, I will not comply, that suddenly the mask mandates started falling. People stopped doing business with restaurants that demanded to see your little card. Then they started saying, okay, well, fine, you can come back in. But the narrative changed from what will we allow you to do to, okay, we're going to stop trying to tamp down on you. And so the lesson we should learn is that the next time there's an outbreak of anything, and we're being told, and the mainstream media and the government, they keep trying to push and prod here. What's the next thing that's going to scare us? Remember what they did before. Do not comply.
They lied to you, and they tried to control you, and they tried to micromanage every single thing about your life, including your freaking face.
They did control us.
And they did.
Yeah.
They actually made, and we let them do it.
Right.
Do not let them do that again.
Yeah. I mean, finally, I got to the point where I said no. I would walk in and like, you have to have a mask on. Do you want my business or not?
Right.
You know what I found? It's like, well, here's your table.
Ha!
And I just said, I'm not doing it.
I remember the school, there was a video of a school announcement talking about how the kids have to remember to mask between bites during lunch.
That was in Kirkwood.
Between bites.
We had the sound bite from that.
Yes. I remember talking about that. Oh, my goodness.
It was incredibly stupid.
So many of these little things. I remember seeing pictures of kids in band class just in seats that were socially distanced from the other seats, and they were in these little plastic containers, bubbles
yes.
essentially. They were in little bubbles. Mm-hmm. Yes. We isolated. There were people who went to nursing homes to see their grandparents, to show them their newly born grandchildren, and they're trying to touch from behind a plastic sheet,
right?
Because they're
or outside the window,
or outside the window. It's
my gosh!
The drive-by birthday parties. Remember those?
Yes,
yeah.
We can't have people over, but roll on by and honk your horn and wave at us just to let us know.
I was in one of those because we have some friends. They don't live here in St. Louis anymore, who were so scared of it, and they're on the left, and they bought into it so much that we did a drive-by birthday party, and then we went and hung out in somebody's yard a couple things down and talked anyway. And where I got the chance to complain to some of the other leftists in South City about how stupid all of this is.
Yes.
And I was like, well, don't be selfish. I'm like, no, I'm going to be selfish now. We need more selfish people when they try to do this again.
Well, here's the thing. I don't regard it as selfish. That's
what I'm saying.
Because it's not. Me protecting my rights and defending my rights is also defending your rights.
Right.
That's me standing against the government's ability and their willingness to socially engineer us to be compliant little drones is me actually protecting you as well from a pandemic more deadly than any virus, and that's the mind virus of compliance to government for whatever they want to tell you to do.
Exactly. And you know who I am, those who complied, who I'm still to this day as angry at as anybody else. Churches.
Yeah. Yeah. When they closed and they said, yeah, okay, you know what? We're not going to have any services for the next I don't know how many however many weeks.
They weren't.
They were told you're not allowed to.
Sam Page said you were not allowed to have church.
Yeah.
And if they happen to reopen a few months later, you can't sing. You can't open your mouth and sing anything. Well, you got to be kidding me.
Right. And churches shut down. Anytime a church says, okay, government said we can't worship and practice our religion the way that we want to because government said so, you've got a church you need to be suspicious of.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you had folks in shopping centers and going to Costco and Walmart.
Oh, the big boxes.
All the big boxes were open, and it was fine. You could protest in the streets. That was okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh. And that was in the middle of it, right? All of that.
Oh, my goodness.
That was not a super spreader event,
Do you
by the
need
way.
another reason to not trust government?
Boy.
Every time government tries to impose some rule, regulation, or law, the burden should be on them to prove why it is necessary and also compliant with constitutional restraints and respects our individual liberties. This has been flipped on its head. So 4 years later, have we learned anything? 314-912-1019. 1019-941 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Are you fed up with paying too much for lightning-fast doctor visits with too little information? Well, I was too, and decided to create an alternative. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler here, asking you to take a look at no copay, no deductible visits with me and my team. That's Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Let's face it, the system's broken. No respect for your money or your time. So learn about a better way for your primary care. Schedule your discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com, shepherding you to medical freedom.
Missouri education officials must be bad poker players. They keep doubling down on the same bad bet. Public school students haven't been reading or doing math at their grade level for way too long. Last year, a horrifying 40% were regarded as not college or career ready after high school. Many states have adopted school choice. Iowa, Oklahoma, and Arkansas all provide money so families can choose the public or private school that works for them. And Kansas has one of the strongest public school choice programs in the nation. Nearly every family in Missouri is given exactly 2 choices for their children's education. They're assigned public school or learning online. That's it. Our neighbors trust their parents to choose the right school for their kids. Missouri doesn't. So enrollment is already shrinking. That will mean fewer high school graduates, college students, and workers. A bad bet indeed. Check out our 2024 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
This is not a final ruling, but so far the Supreme Court will let Texas enforce a new law allowing police to arrest migrants.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
Soros Fund Management is positioned to become the biggest shareholder of Odyssey, the nation's second largest radio company.
St. Louis's trusted source and #1 for live and local conservative talk. This is News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so I've got maybe an unpopular, harsh opinion.
Okay.
Should I just hit you with it here?
Yeah, please. I like those.
I hope my wife's not listening on.
Oh, no, here we go.
She hates it when I do stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Resolved. In 2024, if you are still wearing a mask, you look like a freaking idiot.
So moved.
I saw 2 yesterday, believe it or not, walking through a park. So
Through a
you're
park?
outdoors.
Through a park?
Through a park.
Masked up.
Yep. I was a bit shocked. And I wanted to say something out the window, but I was going about 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I realized they're not going to hear me.
What's funny is I see a lot of people trying to justify this, like, hey, we're just doing what the rest of the world's been doing for a long time, because you see
Japan
those pictures
does it,
of people walking around with the mask on. And like, I remember seeing that ages and ages and ages ago. Except the thing is, here's the major difference. Generally speaking, those masks were specifically for the particulate that pollution that they have floating in the air because they have really bad air quality. Those masks work really well against particulates. It doesn't work against viruses. And if you're in the freaking park in America, as wide open spaces as we have out here, unless it's really, really deep in the middle of the city, you're not getting those particulates. In fact, the regulations we have on cars prevents that kind of air pollution from happening anymore in our major cities.
Yeah. And I saw, a couple weeks ago, I flew down to Florida and back, and I saw some people still wearing masks.
Yeah.
And I don't even care if they catch me staring, and I'm just going, you look like a moron.
Yeah.
You look like an idiot.
I really don't get it. Now, okay, here's the one exception I will make for somebody wearing a mask. If they have a respiratory issue and they're coughing and sneezing and things like that, and they have to go out, I actually appreciate that because it catches the whatever mucus they're spewing.
They're sneezing
They're
and whatever.
sneezing.
Yeah, but how have we survived colds and flus for the last generations
in the
and
grand
centuries?
Scheme, grand scheme, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
I
appreciate them not kludging up everything.
When I see you Sunday at church and you're wearing a mask, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
When I go to the restaurant or the store and you're walking around in a mask, you look like an idiot. When I see you at the airport and you're wearing a mask, you look like an idiot. Period.
Yep.
And they still don't have the thing where people go, "Would you mind wearing a mask for me, please?" We've gotten over that. But I almost wish somebody would ask me that just so I can tell them off.
You can tell them no.
Because I don't go up and tell somebody they look like an idiot to their face, because it's your right. I will defend your right to look like an idiot if you want. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can, wear a mask if you want. If you want to look stupid, you can wear something that says Kansas Jayhawks and look stupid. That's entirely up to you. But I'm not going to go out of my way to tell you that. But, if it comes up and you try to defend yourself, I'm going to point out that I think you look like an idiot because I don't care what your feelings are about me. I don't care what you think about me.
Well, I thought you were going to say Cubs.
I thought about it, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing that to Stell.
Present company accepted.
Caring for a loved one is stressful. It's an emotional time, and we want our loved ones to get the quality of care they deserve. But the cost of long-term care is expensive. In the St. Louis area, it could be $60,000, $70,000, or even over $100,000. Can your savings handle this added expense? Fortunately, News Talk STL listeners have an expert right here. Financial strategist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management shows families tax-efficient strategies to fund care needs. Whether planning in advance, have health concerns, or living in a care community today, solutions exist to fund the quality of care you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book. You'll learn about strategies to empower you